Under a rain-swept night sky, a castle shimmered faintly, its interior teeming with people. The crowd murmured, their gazes fixed on two blonde-haired girls. They died in an accident, didn't they? One whispered. Some say it wasn't an accident at all, another replied. Regardless of the whispers, all eyes were on the two young girls. They're the only children left of the Ekrieks family now, someone said. The two girls, their expressions heavy with grief, stood silently, bearing the weight of the crowd's scrutiny. Then, the shorter-haired girl could no longer hold back her tears. Father, mother, she sobbed, tears streaming down her face. Why did you leave us? Her hand reached out, gently touching the coffin beside her. Mother, answer me, she pleaded. The moment her fingers brushed against the cold wood, her body stiffened. Seeing her collapsing forward, her older sister cried out in alarm. Helena. Helena crumpled onto her mother's coffin, unresponsive to her sister's frantic calls. In that instant, she realized she had been reborn into the world of a novel. She was 9 years old, attending her parents' funeral. The novel was titled The Tyrant's Birdcage, and its male protagonist was Prince Jackal. True to its name, the story revolved around the prince kidnapping and imprisoning the female lead, Duchess Callisto. Even before she became a duchess, the narrative detailed Callisto's confinement, trapped in a cage and subjected to Jackal's cruel whims. She eventually escaped, but this only fueled Jackal's descent into madness, pushing the world to the brink of destruction. In the end, Callisto returned as a saintess, softening Jackal's heart and saving the world. The little girl, Helena, opened her eyes, but she was no longer just a 9-year-old. She was someone who had lived another life. This is insane, she thought. I'm Helena. Seeing her stir, Callisto rushed to her side. Helena, what's wrong? Answer me, she implored. Overwhelmed by the realization, the young girl struggled to process everything. I'm Helena, she thought, Callisto's younger sister. Tears welled up again, not for her parents this time, but for herself. She was the villain of the story, the one who, out of jealousy, would push her sister into Jackal's clutches. Callisto's voice broke through her thoughts. Pulling Helena into a tight embrace, Callisto comforted her. It's okay, Helena, she murmured. I'll protect you in place of Mom and Dad. Didn't I tell you it would be all right? My little sister, Callisto whispered, her voice filled with love. Standing in her sister's warm embrace, Helena's tears flowed freely. She hugged Callisto back, whispering, yes, sister. The girl reborn into Helena's body resolved to change the course of the story. From now on, I only have one goal, she vowed. No matter what happens, I will protect my sister from Jackal. Glancing at the approaching crowd, Helena reassured Callisto, Sister, I'm really okay. The crowd drew closer to the two girls. Oh, Helena, Callisto, they said, their voices dripping with false concern. We were so worried. It must be so difficult for you two to handle everything. Shall we represent you? Helena didn't answer immediately. If this were the old me, she thought, I might have been swayed by their sweet words, oblivious to their manipulative intentions. But not anymore. Inwardly, she cursed them. You bastards, she shouted, her voice filled with all the force she could muster. Get out. Her outburst stunned the crowd, their eyes widening in disbelief. Helena glared at them, her anger burning. They wouldn't fool her again. But the greedy hands of her relatives continued to reach for her. Taking Callisto's hand, Helena pulled her sister away from the grasping crowd. The next day dawned bright and clear. Helena and Callisto were out for a walk when a man approached them, calling out, Callisto, Helena. Disheveled and sweating, he hurried towards them. Am I late? He asked breathlessly. I'm sorry, he added. The man was their uncle, and his arrival was like a miracle. He genuinely cared for the sisters, and thanks to him, their lives began to regain a sense of stability. But of course, their problems weren't entirely solved, and Helena found herself facing a relentless stream of challenges. But whenever she thought of her sister, her exhaustion seemed to melt away. Helena sat at her desk for hours, working until her nose bled, but she didn't stop. As she meticulously wrote, she thought, I need to make our family stronger so Jackal can't act so recklessly. First, I need to deal with the tax evasion issue. No matter how hard she tried, Helena couldn't understand how her sister saw her. She'd pushed herself so relentlessly that she'd fallen ill, burning with fever, and now found herself under Callisto's care. Callisto stroked Helena's hair. Helena, she murmured, my sweet little sister. Tears welled in her eyes, escaping unbidden. You work so hard, even though you're so small. Callisto whispered, still stroking Helena's head. Why can't I do anything to help you? Just then, Helena stirred, blinking one eye open to gaze at her sister with a hazy confusion. Callisto, startled, quickly apologized. I'm sorry, Helena. Did I wake you? Since taking on the burden of managing the dukedom's affairs and administration, Helena, with her naturally weaker constitution compared to her sister, had become a target for their enemies. Now, cradled in Callisto's care, a small, happy smile touched her lips. Hee, your hands are so cold, Helena mumbled. Callisto's smile widened. Yes, she replied, her voice filled with affection. Helena, I love you so much. I would do anything for you. Time flew by, and before they knew it, Helena had grown. Suddenly, the door burst open and she rushed in. Something terrible has happened, Rodmine. Her face fell. Sister has run away again, Helena declared. This young woman was Helena Acrax, 20 years old, heir apparent to the Acrax dukedom, and Callisto's younger sister. The young man she addressed was Rodmine, her aide. He responded with evident concern. The heir apparent has run away. Does she truly intend to abandon her claim to the dukedom? She declared she wouldn't marry, Helena explained, her voice trembling with a mixture of frustration and worry that she would become a knight devoted to the gods. She must have headed towards the setting sun. Rodmine nodded grimly. She's been training day and night. This was bound to happen. Helena sighed. I should have stopped her from training so much. Hearing this, Rodmine remained silent, simply watching her with a concerned expression. Helena walked wearily towards a chair, a thought forming in her mind. Perhaps it's for the best that she ran away like this. As Helena settled into the chair, Rodmine approached, holding a stack of documents. However, Your Grace, he began, if that's the case, we have a serious problem. He pulled a single sheet from the pile. We're expected to receive a summons around this time. Duke Acrax is to assist the Crown Prince for a year. This is a letter from the Crown Prince himself. Realization dawned on Helena. That's right. Perhaps the safest course of action is to keep Sister away from Jackal. Helena hadn't foreseen things turning out this way, but this presented an opportunity to make her intentions clear. She was determined not to let him lay a finger on Callisto. Rodmine broke the silence. Your Grace, what do you intend to do? Straightening in her chair, Helena replied resolutely, there's no other way. I will take her place as Duke Acrax. As the words left her lips, a torrent of thoughts flooded her mind. The person she would have to face was Prince Jackal. Though blessed with extraordinary good looks, his personality was the complete opposite. Should I really go and see the face of the man who's going to harass my sister? She wondered. A week later, on a bright, sunny day, Helena resolved to meet Prince Jackal. Clad in formal red attire, Helena walked slowly, maintaining a composed exterior despite the exhaustion gnawing at her. I haven't been able to sleep at all, she thought wearily. The man she was to meet today was the male protagonist, Jackal Anthos. Born the rightful heir to the throne, Jackal was, for some reason, despised by the Emperor. The Emperor repeatedly forced Jackal into life-threatening trials, forging the Crown Prince into a seemingly unbreakable figure. And to survive, Jackal had become obsessed with power, willing to use any means necessary to shatter the shackles that bound him. A steward led Helena to Prince Jackal's chambers. We have arrived, Your Grace. He gestured towards the room. His Highness, the Crown Prince, is inside. Helena hesitated, a knot of apprehension tightening in her stomach. This was the Crown Prince who, in the original story, would imprison her sister. It was a love story, but not one born of love at first sight. It was a love story born of treasure. The 12 imperial families each possessed a treasure known as a constellation treasure. Each held a unique power, and the treasure of Helena's family was a crox. His first lure, offered in exchange for the treasure, was marriage. If he couldn't obtain what he desired, he would imprison her older sister, Callisto. Perhaps this course of events wouldn't change anything. Helena clenched her hands, forcing herself to remain calm. It's all right, she thought. I've already thought of every countermeasure. Helena closed her eyes, then opened them again, her gaze resolute. Just as she steeled herself, the butler announced, Your Highness, the Duke of Acrax has arrived. Helena slowly entered the room where Crown Prince Jackal awaited. The moment Helena entered, Jackal turned, his gaze emotionless. Helena carefully bowed her head. The 7 stars of Acrax, from the Southern Cross constellation, offer greetings to the descendant of the great Canopus, the Sun Star. At her words, Prince Jackal spoke. It seems you don't remember. Helena looked up at him, puzzled, but the Crown Prince immediately shifted his demeanor. He offered a gentle smile. "It's nothing. Please come in, new Duke of Cracks. You must be tired from your journey. However, I thought your elder sister would be the one to inherit the dukedom." At his words, a flicker of worry crossed Helena's face. The Crown Prince asked directly, "I presume you know how to use the Acrox treasure." This was entirely within Helena's expectations. "Yes," she replied. "I know how to use it." Upon hearing this, the Crown Prince stepped closer to Helena. He declared bluntly, "You might be surprised to hear this, but I've fallen in love with you at first sight. Marry me." Helena couldn't answer immediately. She paused for a few seconds, thinking, "I knew it was coming, but it's still surprising. Proposing right after talking about the treasure, it's far too obvious." Even so, maintaining her composure, Helena asked, "What can you offer me?" Taken aback by her question, Prince Jackal seemed surprised. Helena pressed on. "Let me say it again. What will you do for me?" Helena gave a cold smile. "Your Highness surely can't be truly in love with me at first sight, so perhaps there's something you want from me. That's why I say, if you're truly smitten, then a marriage of convenience would be better. It's a mutually beneficial relationship, and we can both do as we please." Prince Jackal seemed taken aback by her words. Having said her piece, Helena offered a confident smile. Yes, this was her plan, to use his proposal as a counter-offensive, to pretend to give him what he wanted and prevent her sister's imprisonment. After lulling him into a false sense of security and getting him to do something useful, she would buy time to escape safely and divert his attention from the treasure. She needed something else that would pique his interest more, but that was nothing to worry about. With Helena's administrative abilities, this deal would surely save their crumbling territory. In her previous life, she was a level 5 civil servant in the Korean civil service. The civil service rankings went from level 1 to 9, with 1 being the highest. So clearly, this proposal wasn't bad for him. After a moment of thought, Prince Jackal suddenly exclaimed, "Oh." Helena watched him curiously. Contrary to his appearance, Prince Jackal feigned a pitiful expression. "A marriage of convenience. How can you say such cruel words? That kind of relationship is destined to separate, and I don't like that." Helena hadn't expected this. She stammered, If that's the case, we can extend the duration." Prince Jackal shook his head. "No, what I want is a permanent relationship with you, not a contract. Will you marry me forever?" Prince Jackal took a step forward and wrapped his arm around Helena's waist. The Crown Prince's methods were truly insidious. Helena's face darkened. This guy is definitely not just an ordinary lunatic, she cursed inwardly. But these tricks were nothing to her. She immediately pushed the Crown Prince's hand away and answered bluntly, "I refuse." Undeterred, Prince Jackal continued, "But this won't harm you in any way." Helena, her voice tight with anger, retorted, "I apologize, Your Highness, but I find your face displeasing." The Crown Prince, Jackal, refused to be deterred. "Don't be absurd. Tell me the truth." Trapped, Helena began to dissect his appearance, forcing a calmness she didn't feel. "I dare not speak ill of Your Highness, lest I cause offense." Jackal, however, wouldn't let her off the hook. He pressed her, demanding she elaborate. Finally, Helena stated bluntly, "From head to toe, there is nothing about your appearance that I find agreeable." Jackal stared at her, momentarily stunned. Helena added, "I believe that answers your question sufficiently." With another curtsy, she continued, "As per the decree, I have been appointed as your aide for 1 year, a duty I intend to fulfill to the best of my ability." She turned to leave, but Jackal followed, quickly barring her exit. "I had instructed the servants to prepare quarters for you, but I've changed my mind. I'll have them prepare a room closer to mine." His voice dripped with false sweetness. A predatory smile stretched across his face. "Thank you for your honesty. It's simply a matter of preference, isn't it? I shall endeavor to learn more about your preferences." Helena forced a smile, her stomach churning. Then, "Your Highness, I bid you good night." With that, she fled the room, leaving Jackal alone. He clenched his fists, his expression hardening. As I suspected, he muttered, "I can't let her go." Moments later, back in the aide's office, Helena slammed the door behind her, a furious cry escaping her lips. She began to hurl objects across the room. Rodmine appeared at the door, his voice laced with concern. "I'll call for a physician." The Duchess's madness. Helena whirled around, her voice sharp. "Don't you dare speak of madness in my presence." Rodmine entered the room cautiously. "It's a relief to see you're not ill. What happened to cause such a reaction?" Helena sighed, slumping onto a chair. Just as I feared, he proposed. Rodmine, ever the prepared aide, immediately produced a budget plan. Helena cut him off with a glare. Do you wish to be dismissed? My apologies, madam. Rodmine watched Helena rest her head on the table. But you anticipated this, didn't you? Why this reaction? Did things not go according to plan? Helena replied. He refused the contract. He believes the outcome is already predetermined. Rodmine simply said, I understand. Helena snapped. Do you want to keep your position? Rodmine quickly corrected himself. No, this is a serious matter. The deal is off, just as you predicted, madam. Rubbing her temples, Helena explained, he's after the treasure. The Akrak's treasure is a powerful weapon that changes form depending on the wielder's aptitude. Its power is tied to the user's inherent abilities. In Callisto's hands, it takes the form of a sword. Strangely, the Crown Prince doesn't seem interested in such a treasure. The problem is, this is a fatal flaw, because I can't wield the treasure. When my sister left, I ensured Akrax recognized me as the heir. But because I can't use the treasure, I'm only half an heir. If Jackal discovers this, he'll turn his attention back to Callisto. No matter how hard I try, I can't seem to activate the treasure. Frustration gnawed at her. She picked up a pillow and squeezed it tightly. I'm so useless, she muttered, ripping the pillow apart. What kind of weapon would even suit me? Rodmine, ever oblivious, chirped, I'll go prepare your wedding dress. Unlike Rodmine's naivete, Helena was consumed by worry. What am I going to do? Then, an idea struck her. Sitting up straighter in the now feather-strewn chair, she declared, the Crown Prince doesn't know what the treasure looks like. Even the royal family doesn't have a record of every artifact's appearance. Especially House Akrax, a rather D-Dow family considering their influence. Few know of the family's seventh treasure. It wasn't until the previous Duke of Akrax defeated the dragon that people learned the Akrax family possessed divine power. Helena fell deep into thought. She pondered silently. In the original story, her sister, Callisto, hadn't considered it a great secret and had revealed it, but Helena disagreed. Suddenly, Helena called for Rodmine. I shouldn't return to the dukedom now, should I? Rodmine's immediate response was, that would be enough to be charged with defiance, perhaps even treason. However, his next words were quite the opposite. But the Duke would never do anything to harm House Akrax. That was right. Helena agreed with Rodmine. She smiled, relieved. Callisto would return to the dukedom, and it was Helena's duty to protect it. After a moment of contemplation, Helena stretched. All right, let's find a solution. She swiftly gave her orders. Find me every case in history where the head of a Zodiac family returned to their territory in less than a year. Rodmine was no ordinary aide. He anticipated everything, waiting for Helena's command. He immediately provided the information. I anticipated this, so I've already gathered the data. Zodiac families are required to serve the Crown Prince for 1 year. Helena picked up the documents and perused them carefully. While serving the Crown Prince for a year was mandatory, not every family fulfilled the entire term. Thus, Helena made her decision. She had to return quickly, before her secret was discovered. Helena flipped through the documents, her grip tightening, a whirlwind of thoughts racing through her mind. There was no other way. If exposed, both she and her sister were doomed. Another day passed. The sun had risen high, its rays streaming into Helena's room. Rodmine opened the door and entered. Good morning, Duchess. Helena's appearance was less than ideal, her face devoid of any vitality. Rodmine quickly inquired, were you up all night? Helena replied absent-mindedly, it's nothing like that. She had been preoccupied with how to conceal her inability to wield the treasure. Seeing her unsteady demeanor, Rodmine asked with concern, are you all right? Facing Rodmine's question, Helena smiled, gesturing to her beautiful face. Makeup can hide anything. The maid swiftly worked to enhance Helena's beauty. She thought, if I appear with a weary face, wouldn't it be like admitting I was too afraid to sleep? Helena naturally disliked that idea. In the blink of an eye, Helena regained her radiant appearance, dressed in pink and white, returning to her usual ducal elegance. Helena was pleased with the result. Smiling, she said, I like this very much, and waved a handful of gold coins to the maids. Their tasks complete, everyone quickly left Helena's room. Rodmine approached and whispered in Helena's ear, what will the Crown Prince do? Helena replied indifferently, let him do as he pleases. she would continue to resist. Just because of small change, her sister, Callisto, had become a staunch non-marriage advocate and was sticking to it, completely different from the original story. So what about Jackal? Helena needed more time to understand this male protagonist. Only then could she devise a perfect plan. As the two were deep in thought, Roadmine's facial muscles suddenly twitched. Helena quickly noticed and asked, "What's with that expression?" Roadmine replied, "I just remembered something the Duke said." He continued, "For the past 10 years, he's been collecting evidence of people evading taxes, saying he'd smash their heads in. I understood what smashing their heads meant at the time, though I didn't quite grasp the nuance of the phrase, but in the end, he still defeated them." Roadmine stated clearly, "Truly remarkable." Helena, too, was intrigued. She smiled. Roadmine's words were meant to comfort her. He added, "So you'll definitely do better now." His words did touch her a little. Jackal wasn't someone easily defeated, but Helena was resolute nonetheless. "If need be," she declared, "I'll take you and run." Roadmine waited for her to finish, then promptly produced a letter of resignation. "Those words moved me to tears. If that's the case, then I'd be grateful if you'd let me live comfortably, eating, drinking, and playing." Duchess Helena, naturally, wouldn't accept it. She replied with a laugh, "A resignation letter? My dear pet, that's out of the question." Helena immediately recovered her composure. "It's the first day of work. Good luck. Whatever happens, stay strong." With that, Helena and Roadmine stepped out of the room. The Crown Prince was already standing there waiting for her. He even waved to her in a friendly manner. Helena froze at the sight of him, wondering why he was standing in the hallway. Prince Jackal spoke first. "Good morning, Duchess. Did you sleep well last night?" Helena cautiously lowered her head. "Yes, Your Highness." Prince Jackal continued, "I heard you're starting work today. I'm surprised. Most people would rest a bit before starting." Helena thought, that's only because they have the leisure to, but she kept it to herself, replying with a smile, "I enjoy working." The Crown Prince brightened at her response, a wide smile spreading across his face. "Really? Me too. What a coincidence." Watching his cheerful expression, Helena thought, he enjoys having slaves work for him, more like. Before she could say anything, the Crown Prince changed the subject. "I enjoy other things as well. Would you like to hear about them?" Maintaining her composure, Helena asked, though it's a bit rude, "Will it affect my work if I decline?" The Crown Prince replied, "Of course not." That was precisely what she'd been waiting for. Helena went straight for the jugular, a bright smile on her face. "Then I'll excuse myself." At her words, the Crown Prince merely hummed. "That's a shame." His brief reply left Helena slightly suspicious. "He gave up easier than I thought. Was he just joking yesterday?" Then she asked, "So where will I be working?" Prince Jackal's demeanor shifted dramatically. He spoke seriously. "I came out here to tell you just that." This surprised Helena even more. She thought suspiciously, Jackal came out here just to explain this. The Crown Prince began to explain her duties. "The Duchess only needs to come to my study every day. You're free to use your days off as you please." Helena was satisfied with this. She smiled. "If it were mandatory, I wouldn't use them." The Crown Prince immediately responded, "The Duchess truly does enjoy working." Helena maintained her smile. "Perhaps." But as soon as she finished speaking, the Crown Prince immediately countered, "No, you just want to finish this job quickly, don't you?" Having her true intentions exposed, Helena could only offer a confident smile. Then the Crown Prince continued, discussing her work. "Waiting here for you today was a special occasion, as I must personally introduce you to the situation inside." Just hearing those words conjured up a series of gruesome images in Helena's mind. What's inside? A crimson scene behind the door. Corpses. I hate those things. Prince Jackal maintained his serious expression. "Since I don't know your preferences, I chose it myself. I hope the Duchess will like it." With that, the Crown Prince immediately ordered the doors to be opened and stepped aside. Helena, still caught up in her morbid imaginings, was completely unprepared. She hastily called for them to wait, but it was too late. The doors swung open, revealing a dazzling light within. Helena stared at the interior, stunned into silence. The Crown Prince continued, "I've been preparing for the wedding since before." Contrary to Helena's expectations, there were no corpses. Instead, the room was filled with countless beautiful flowers and even seating for guests. Her eyes widened in astonishment, barely able to believe the sight before her. The Crown Prince, clearly pleased with his creation, asked with a smile, "So, are you satisfied with this proposal?" Another bolt of lightning struck Helena's mind. Panic seized her. If I run away, she thought, horrified, will my entire family be taken captive? Helena froze, paralyzed by indecision. This crown prince was proving even more deranged than she had imagined. "Do you like it?" the crown prince asked, taking a step closer. The question jolted Helena from her stunned silence. "I can't just brush this off," she thought frantically. "He's a madman, but for my goal, I'll do whatever it takes." Crown Prince Jackal moved closer still, making Helena intensely uncomfortable. To prove to him that she was capable of anything, a scream welled up inside her, a desperate urge to destroy everything in the room. But it remained just that, an urge. Forcing a smile, she cursed inwardly. "Like what? What's it like? Right now, all I want is to give up waiting for Callisto and run." "Romine, where are you?" Helena cried out. "Come and hit this lunatic." Receiving the Duchess's desperate plea, Romine immediately pulled out his resignation letter, muttering, "What? I'm resigning." Watching their whispered exchange, Crown Prince Jackal chuckled. No reaction at all. Helena forced herself to speak, her gaze fixed on the floor. "May I be honest?" "Go ahead," the Crown Prince said, his voice deceptively gentle. In stark contrast to his soft tone, Helena's voice was sharp with annoyance. "It's truly awful." Despite her bluntness, the Crown Prince's expression remained unchanged, seemingly unaffected. He continued to smile. "Is it that bad?" "Yes," Helena replied flatly. "It's that bad." Undeterred, the Crown Prince pressed on. "And what specifically is so awful?" Helena launched into a detailed explanation. "Who sets up a wedding venue without consulting the other person? Your actions only put pressure on them, no matter how beautifully decorated the room is." Helena paused, then continued firmly, "I don't want to get married in a study, and this color scheme isn't my style. And neither are you." That last part, she dared only think, not say aloud. Finally, after Helena's blunt critique, the Crown Prince seemed to concede, giving a slight nod. His enthusiasm, however, remained undaunted. Barely a second later, he was smiling again. "I'll take that feedback into consideration." The sight of that smile made Helena's blood boil. She longed to give him the middle finger, but he was still the Crown Prince. She had to endure. And so, despite everything, she followed as the Crown Prince cheerfully ushered her into the room. She would have to continue putting up with this lunatic. Once inside the study, the Crown Prince's frivolous demeanor vanished, replaced by his usual serious composure. "It's nothing difficult. Mainly, you'll be assisting me with my work." Handing Helena a document, he continued, "First, let me explain this matter." Helena listened, but her mind seethed. He's acting like nothing happened. The nerve. She sat at the desk as the Crown Prince meticulously guided her through each task. Watching him work, no one would think him a madman. Helena made a mental assessment. "Well, he's explaining things more thoroughly than I expected, and he's not acting crazy anymore." Her gaze drifted downwards, settling on the Crown Prince's chest. As they worked, their hands brushed as they both reached for the same document. The Crown Prince seized the opportunity, grasping her hand. "Oh, we touched," he said, his fingers caressing hers. "Your fingers are beautiful." Once again caught off guard by his unpredictable behavior, Helena stared at him, bewildered. "This ring would suit your hand perfectly," the Crown Prince said, a smile playing on his lips. "I'll give it to you." Without a moment's hesitation, Helena refused. When he asked why, she quickly fabricated an excuse. "I don't like rings. Yes, from today onwards, I don't like rings." He continued in this vein, finding excuses to touch her hand, making her skin crawl. Finally, after finishing his explanations, the Crown Prince returned to his own desk. Yet he wouldn't let it go. Crown Prince Jackal kept bringing up the ring, even during work hours. He'd casually stroll over and ask, "Helena, any plans after work?" Helena, diligently focused on her tasks, would reply, "Nothing in particular." Jackal persisted with this tactic until the end of the workday. The long day finally drew to a close, and evening arrived, allowing Helena to retreat to her room. She sank into a chair with a sigh. Rodmine, ever attentive, immediately inquired, "Your Grace, you look like you'd rather be anywhere else." Helena sighed again. "That day at work aged me a decade." Then, realizing her self-pity wouldn't solve anything, she straightened. Rodmine continued, "I've looked into the matter you asked about. Would you like to hear the report?" Helena, weary, waved a hand dismissively. Go ahead." Rodmine began. "The Crown Prince truly detests women who pursue him. It seems something happened during his upbringing, and he also dislikes overly revealing attire." Helena cut him off abruptly. Wait. I didn't ask you to investigate that. I asked you to look into the family heads who returned without completing their assigned tasks on time. I didn't ask you to find out the Crown Prince's preferences." Rodmine, his expression unreadable, replied, I am Roadmine, the Duchess's right hand. I conducted this investigation independently to anticipate and address your needs. Helena, unimpressed with his jest, grabbed his collar, her voice sharp. You rascal, you enjoy this, don't you? Sensing the shift in her mood, Roadmine quickly backpedaled. It's a misunderstanding. My apologies. Helena's anger still simmered. If I actually marry him, I'm taking you with me as part of the dowry. Roadmine, no longer joking, hastily apologized. I've made a grave error. Let me just kneel for a moment. He'd been playing a role, and now, with a seamless transition, Roadmine snapped back into his efficient, professional demeanor. Ahem, frivolity aside, I've compiled all the requests from 5 years ago. The head of the Pollock family made a critical error while serving as the Crown Prince's aide. The Crown Prince banished him from his sight. In other words, if one is banished from the royal court, the 1-year term is no longer an issue. Helena's mind word, seizing on a new idea. Being banished. That might not be so bad. Those who are banished not only suffer from bad rumors circulating in high society, but also face difficulties in solidifying their family's position. But if I shoulder those rumors and leave the position of Duchess, then my sister can return and take my place. Everything would fall into place. What a perfect picture. Although, the problem is getting my sister to agree to become the Duchess. If I explain the situation clearly, it shouldn't be a problem. After a moment of contemplation, Helena concluded, not bad at all. Well, she mused, there's an old saying, if someone's going to be a jerk, you have to be an even bigger jerk. Roadmine looked perplexed. Is that proverb really applicable to this situation? Roadmine was suddenly reminded of Helena's past pronouncements. He recalled her once declaring, there's too much tax revenue being lost. I'm going to eradicate those who suck the Acrax family dry, like mosquitoes. Her words sent a shiver down his spine. Helena, a gleam in her eye, turned to Roadmine with a predatory smile. So, you're going to help me. I'm going to wipe them out. Roadmine shuddered inwardly, thinking, her grace always displays a stroke of genius when she sets her mind to something, but sometimes her methods are a bit extreme. I hope nothing goes terribly wrong. Meanwhile, Helena was preoccupied, plotting how best to engineer her own banishment. Observing her deep in thought, Roadmine mused, her grace is just as she always was, always looking ahead. The next day, as the sun reached its zenith, Helena had yet to arrive at work. At that moment, a man entered the Crown Prince's study. The Crown Prince gave him a chilling glance. The man, understanding the unspoken command, immediately reported, Duchess Acrax has not yet arrived for work. Crown Prince Jackal paused for a beat at this news. Then, with a sudden, unsettlingly cheerful tone, he asked, where has she gone? Faced with this difficult question, the man stammered, unsure how to respond. Just then, the Crown Prince, Jackal, slammed his hand onto the other man's shoulder. Don't tell me you don't know, he demanded, the smile vanishing from his face, replaced by eyes filled with a chilling intent. That's impossible, isn't it? The command followed swiftly. We're going to find her. Meanwhile, a young woman lay fast asleep just outside the garden walls. The maidservants, discovering her slumbering form, whispered amongst themselves, should we wake her? One ventured, you try. Another replied nervously, no, it's too frightening. The sleeping figure was Helena, blissfully unaware of the whispers and the unfolding events. The garden was secluded, a hidden sanctuary, and the maids couldn't fathom how she'd found it. Suddenly, Helena's eyes fluttered open, and a mischievous grin spread across her face. Hee, she chuckled. The maidservants jumped back in surprise. Helena's strange behavior stemmed from her newly devised plan to counteract Jackal's advances. She would simply neglect her duties, feign incompetence, and wait to be dismissed, all while continuing to collect her wages. Stretched out on the garden chair, Helena gazed at the sky, a thoughtful expression on her face. Ah, of course, she mused, if he gets too angry, I've already thought of an excuse. Her reclined position was perfect for appreciating the natural beauty around her. The sunlight is so lovely, she sighed contentedly. Reaching a hand towards the azure sky, she continued her internal monologue. Ever since I was born into this world and realized the original story, I've been constantly working. It can't be helped. The original story is the reason the two sisters were driven apart, as evidenced by the corruption that's rampant everywhere. Even in her youth, Helena had been forced to deal with countless instances of corruption within the Acrax dukedom. She recalled a specific incident, a man kneeling before her, pleading, "You can't do this." Despite her young age, Helena's resolve was unshakable. Why not? She'd challenged, pointing at the accused. "I studied for a whole year, sleeping only 2 hours a day, just to uncover your embezzlement. If this continues, there will undoubtedly be more. Fine, I'll give you a chance. Only those who confess will receive leniency." Think it over carefully, Helena had declared before ordering their arrest. Seeing their scheme exposed, the two members of the Akrax family immediately turned on each other, each desperate to shift the blame. "Wait, let me explain. I have to say, it was him who offered the bribe. Back then, her youth had made it difficult to earn the knight's complete trust. So, she meticulously gathered irrefutable evidence. From a very young age, Helena had recognized her own vulnerability. I must become stronger, she'd told herself. If my body can't be healthy, then I'll train my mind. I could do anything. Yes, I could do anything to change the original story. But for now, I'm going to rest. It's been so long since I've done absolutely nothing." Helena relaxed happily, indulging in a pleasant daydream. "If only life could always be like this," she murmured. Her words were cut short by a familiar voice that sent a jolt of alarm through her. "Like this, you say?" She scrambled to her feet. The newcomer was none other than Crown Prince Jackal. Helena had carefully chosen this secluded spot, yet he'd found her with unsettling speed. Despite her inner panic, Helena forced herself to appear calm. "Your Highness," she inquired, "what brings you here?" Jackal immediately countered, "That's my question." Helena was momentarily speechless, turning away to curse him under her breath. Damn it, he's terrifying. But then, Helena turned back to face him. "How did you know I was here?" she asked. Jackal paused for a moment, then offered a smile. "Perhaps it's the power of love," he replied. Helena's desire to speak evaporated. Mentally, she initiated mute mode part 2. However, well versed in the art of deflecting unwanted attention, she retorted with feigned annoyance, "Did you use magic to track my location?" The Crown Prince's flippant response followed swiftly. "Love is a kind of magic, too." At this, Helena was rendered speechless. Her thoughts raced. If not magic, then how did he find me so quickly? This is one of the places my sister discovered while hiding from Jackal in the original story. The Crown Prince, Jackal, suddenly placed his hand on the back of his chair, leaning closer to Helena. "It's strange," he murmured. "Why don't you believe it? Perhaps this is fate." The word fate made Helena bristle. "Fate my foot," she thought, seething inwardly. "We've only known each other for 2 days, you imbecile." But in a flash, Helena devised a retort. A sardonic smile touched her lips as she replied, "That kind of fate I don't need." Jackal paused, momentarily taken aback by her cool rejection. Undeterred, he quickly launched a new tactic. "That only makes me more ambitious," he declared. "Tell me all my flaws. I'm eager to improve. Ha! Marry me." Helena didn't mince words. "If you'll permit my rudeness," she stated flatly, "I'll tell you everything." Despite his rambling, Jackal still hadn't mentioned her leave request. Helena eyed him curiously. Catching her look, he asked, "Are you testing me?" Helena immediately countered, "I'm not. Vacation days are guaranteed by regulation. I'm simply exercising my right." Jackal picked up her thread. "But who takes leave on their second day of work?" Though slightly unreasonable, Helena stood her ground. "Your Highness," she said firmly, "I'm merely utilizing what I'm entitled to." Jackal didn't seem at all annoyed. "I'm not reprimanding you," he said. "It's just the first time anyone's done this." Then, with audacious charm, he added, "It's quite intriguing. Not seeing you for a day, Duchess, has made me realize how much I want to see you." Helena felt suffocated by his relentless flirting. Exhaling wearily, she muttered, "Heavens, let me recite you a poem." After a while longer, Jackal finally departed, even humming cheerfully as he went. Only after he left did Helena release a pent-up breath. But the sound of his carefree humming sent a shiver down her spine. A light suddenly flared in one of the castle's rooms. It was Helena, exploding in frustration. "I'm gonna go mad," she shrieked, taking out her anger on a hapless teddy bear. Roadmine, also unable to sleep, grumbled, "Are you planning to stay up all night? If so, I expect overtime pay." A week passed, and Helena was still trapped in a frustrating game of cat and mouse with the Crown Prince. Her hair disheveled, she pondered what method will make him understand. Every night, as she lay in bed, the same question plagued her. If I just go through the motions for 3 months, will I be fired? He didn't specify a time frame. if I keep taking leave. The next day, the office was impeccably tidy from early morning. Jackal had actually moved a bed into the office. With an air of nonchalance, he said to Helena, "Just rest comfortably here." A plush new bed sat beside her desk. He continued earnestly, "If you want to take leave, rest here. If you want to see me, what's the difficulty? I can handle the work alone." Helena shuddered at his manipulative tactics, a wry, helpless smile touching her lips. How can I possibly outmaneuver this lunatic? She screamed internally, staring at the bed. Helena could only remain silent, sighing and rubbing her forehead. The self-assured crown prince, having installed the bed, announced he was going to see the emperor and departed. Left alone, Helena sank back in her thoughts. Dismissal wasn't the only option. There were other antagonists in the original story, characters like Jackal. One such character was the male protagonist's half-sister. The princess, consumed by a deep obsession with the male protagonist and jealous of any woman near her brother. Helena was sitting in the office when a sudden crash startled her. She looked up sharply. The office door burst open. Standing there was the male protagonist's sister, the infamous princess, Jackal's sister, and the villainess of the original story. Helena's brow furrowed immediately. It was far too obvious. This young woman, radiating an aura of luxury, was the villainess Helena had just mentioned, Princess Hyia, a cold-hearted woman, utterly obsessed with her brother. Helena reacted swiftly. As Princess Hyia approached, Helena rose to her feet and bowed her head. "Greetings, Princess." Akrax humbly greets the descendant of the Sun Child, Canopus. After her greeting, Princess Hyia offered no response. A terrifying silence hung in the air. Standing before her was the antagonist of the original story. Maintaining a smile, Helena thought, why isn't she saying anything? Is she ignoring me? Has she already started to bully me? Hyia didn't make Helena wait long. She asked softly, "How did you know I was the princess?" Helena smiled. As the Duchess of the Empire, how could I not recognize a member of the royal family? Looking at the princess's expression, Helena couldn't help but think of a fish cake. Contrary to the original story, Princess Hera's face held no trace of malice. She tilted her head, studying Helena, then asked, "Are you the woman who was in my brother's office?" The princess stepped closer to Helena. "The new Duchess of Akrax," she continued, "I've heard of you." The princess's next action was unexpected. She gently lifted Helena's chin with her hand. The distance between them closed in an instant. Leaning in, the princess murmured, "Beautiful." Helena stumbled back, a helpless laugh escaping her. Like brother, like sister, she thought. Their personalities are identical. Glancing around, the princess asked, "Where's my brother?" Helena replied, "His Highness, the Crown Prince, has gone to see His Majesty." At this, the princess simply uttered, "Ah," her eyes still fixed on Helena. The princess still hadn't released Helena's chin. Struggling slightly, Helena asked, "Your Highness, how long is this conversation going to continue?" Looking at Helena's flustered expression, the princess laughed and let her go. "I just find it fascinating," the princess continued, "that there's a woman in my brother's room. To other girls, the Crown Prince is a demon. They've all been chased away before. Every single one." Helena felt a pang of awkwardness at those words. After speaking, the princess folded her arms and looked at her thoughtfully. Then, the princess said, "I'll leave it at that for today. You don't need to report that I was here." She turned to leave. Suddenly, she stopped and uttered words that sent a wave of panic through Helena. "It seems your relationship is close enough to spend a passionate night here." With that, Hyia turned and left, ignoring Helena's attempts to explain. Wait a minute, it's not like that." But the princess paid her no mind, quickly departing the office. After the princess left, Helena collapsed in despair, her expression pained. How did this happen? This is a misunderstanding. When Princess Hyia returned to her palace, her handmaid rushed out. "Princess, you're back. Did you see His Highness, the Crown Prince?" The gentle expression vanished from the princess's face, replaced by a sly smile. "No, but something very interesting happened." Hyia stroked the small snake coiled around her hand. Then she ordered, "Investigate everything about the new Duchess of Akrax. Don't miss a single detail, not even the smallest thing." Back in the office, 3 days had passed, but the bed surprisingly remained in the study. Helena had quickly adapted to the work, but she still wasn't used to that jerk. Just kidding, Helena thought. Saying I'm used to all this is unsettling. It's been over a week, and I've discovered one truth. Being the Crown Prince isn't all that comfortable. I thought that when he was bored, he'd be busy flirting with beautiful young ladies or searching for constellation treasures, like in the novels, but this was the first time I'd seen someone work harder than me. His workload is several times that of my family's. This place once riddled with corruption. And today, unlike his usual weekly routine, he wasn't bothering me. He wasn't muttering, "Let's register our marriage," to Helena like he usually does. Helena paused her work, looking thoughtfully at the Crown Prince. Helena wondered why his expression seemed so serious. But only a second later did she realize the problem. The document in his hand was the one she had organized that morning. The coal mine explosion incident was a task entrusted to him by the Emperor. If he couldn't resolve it, he would certainly be punished. This incident appeared at the beginning of the original story. It was a bomb the Emperor threw at Jackal, hoping he would fail. After all, the relationship between the Emperor and the Crown Prince was truly terrible. Helena was the Crown Prince's aide, so she would also be involved in this matter. She thought if the coal mine explosion really happened as it did in the original story, then Jackal would fail. Afterward, his ambition for power and constellation treasures would grow even stronger, and the opportunity to imprison my sister would draw closer. Helena pondered carefully. I shouldn't let that madman's mood worsen. After a moment, Helena decided to start a conversation with the Crown Prince. "Your Highness, it seems you've only looked at one document this past hour. May I offer a suggestion?" The Crown Prince replied, "Speak. I shall certainly permit it." Helena said resolutely, "Please give me all the documents except for the ones concerning the explosion incident. I will handle them." Crown Prince Jackal was a little surprised by Helena's suggestion, but she didn't give him a chance to question her and continued, "This incident has caused countless deaths, so you must be very busy. The Emperor has just entrusted you with handling the explosion, while simultaneously adding administrative tasks. This leaves Jackal bound and unable to do anything." In reality, it was because the time was too tight for Jackal to resolve the matter properly. The Crown Prince asked Helena suspiciously, "If I give them to you, can you handle it?" Helena was naturally very confident in her abilities. She proudly replied, "Yes. Although I still have shortcomings, I am the Duchess, ruling over a territory of hundreds of thousands of people." Since she had said so, the Crown Prince couldn't refuse. He handed the stack of documents to her, saying, "Take these for now. There are a lot." Helena took them and replied, "Leave it to me." At this moment, the Crown Prince added, "But you doing this makes me like you even more." Helena still couldn't stabilize her emotions when she heard the Crown Prince's words. She frowned and said, "Please retract your statement, or I will sign my opposition on all the documents." But even with such a threat, the Crown Prince deliberately continued, "I can't hear what you're saying because my heart is beating too loudly. Do you want to listen?" The Crown Prince then grabbed Helena's hand, but as before, Helena flatly rejected him. After receiving the documents, Helena hurried back to her seat. The Crown Prince watched her back, his eyes filled with many unspoken thoughts. 2 days later, on her way to the office, Helena suddenly received shocking news. Helena Acrox angrily asked, "Are you certain?" Rodmine firmly replied, "Yes. I only just found out myself." Helena Acrox gritted her teeth in anger upon receiving this news. The Acrax mine had exploded. How could this be? She thought. It was a mine in the Acrax dukedom that had exploded. This never happened in the original story. Helena Acrox, trying to remain calm, asked, "Were there any casualties?" Rodmine gravely reported that, fortunately, there were none. Because it was a scheduled inspection day, no one was there. The explosion occurred at the Ruby mine, which was slated to close in a few years anyway, so the losses weren't substantial. Rodmine continued, "Still, this explosion is truly strange. Could it be some divine prank?" Helena, Duchess of Acrax, felt a flicker of unease at his words. Divine. If this explosion was deliberately set, it's hard to believe there were no casualties, only property damage. This is clearly a warning, she thought grimly. A helpless sigh escaped her lips. This certainly isn't my fault. Rodmine was silent for a moment before offering his assessment. It's clearly aimed at us. She then asked, "So, what do you intend to do?" Without hesitation, Rodmine replied, "If your grace requires, I will take appropriate measures. Shall I summon the agents?" Helena didn't answer, but her thoughts raced. Could it be the Emperor? He's the one person who knows every move of the royal family. So he might have discovered I'm helping Jackal. She spoke slowly. "Let's just handle it quietly. We'll pretend nothing happened." Inwardly, Helena steeled her resolve. Having chosen this path, I must see it through. The Emperor will be overthrown sooner or later anyway. Resisting my feelings for Jackal is far more dangerous. She sighed internally. Oh, my fate. With a weary tone, she addressed Roadmine. Just bury it. Roadmine immediately obeyed. Yes, I understand, Your Grace. Later, Jackal handled the mine explosion incident so flawlessly that not a single detail was out of place. In a darkened room, a voice echoed. There was also an explosion in the Akrax territory. While there were no casualties, the property and material damage was relatively significant. A figure sat listening intently to the report. Jacqueline, presumably referring to Helena, stated she hasn't said anything. Callisto added, unfortunately, this incident has caused many casualties. Your Highness must be quite busy dealing with the aftermath. Then a voice inquired, are you tired? Jackal, with a smile, replied, it's been a busy week, hasn't it, Your Grace? He asked with concern, you're bleeding from your nose. Are you all right? Helena responded coolly, Your Highness's work is to find ways to save more people, while I am merely fulfilling my duty as a citizen of the Empire. So I'm fine. Jackal fell silent after hearing her reply. He thought to himself, how interesting. Lost in thought, a smile played on his lips. What am I to do? I might actually develop feelings for you, Your Grace. Then you'll be in trouble. Time flew by, and a month passed. Helena pondered, bewildered, but I still haven't been dismissed. Recently, Jackal, with a polite smile, had extended his hand and said, shall we go for a walk? You should rest. Helena protested angrily, not a walk. I want a vacation. If you're uncomfortable with your assistant taking leave, then fire me. Jackal remained unfazed. Oh, very well. Let me have the bed put back in your room. Rendered speechless by his response, Helena fumed silently, her mind churning. It seems being fired won't work. Next plan. But just then, she witnessed a maid being forcibly dragged away. Shocked, she exclaimed, what's going on? Helena couldn't help but feel disgusted by the scene. What a revolting sight. The palace security is appalling. Despite his age, the current emperor is still a lecherous old man. Rumors of his indiscriminate desires, regardless of status or age, are widespread. So even within the palace, if a maid is harassed, the knights rarely intervene, because the emperor himself engages in such behavior. Suddenly, her own situation struck her. Jackal's palace is clean, so I completely forgot about this. As she walked, Helena Crocs mused that even if the emperor were a philanderer, the line of succession wouldn't be affected. Due to an accident, the emperor was no longer capable of having children. Helena smirked inwardly. In other words, he was sterile. Nearby, a man was berating a maid. Don't talk back. Hurry up. Just then, Helena strode over, pushing the man's hand away. She said she doesn't like it. She exclaimed. Standing protectively in front of the maid, she demanded, she already said she doesn't like it. Why are you forcing her? The man, flustered, asked, who are you? Without hesitation, Helena declared, I am the Duchess of Crocs. She returned the question, and who are you? The man hesitated before replying, I am Baron Podex. A thought flashed through Helena's mind. This was one of the minor families supporting the emperor. Indignantly, she retorted, since when has the House of Crocs fallen so low as to be looked down upon by the likes of Baron Podex? Realizing his misstep, Podex backpedaled. I apologize, my information was a bit outdated. But inwardly he seethed. Astonishing. A girl instantly becomes a duchess without any inheritance. It's bound to cause confusion, especially a girl barely an adult. Astonishing indeed. However, at that moment, he sneered, but the maid and I were in the middle of a discussion. Please return her to me. Helena responded haughtily, I don't think so. Losing his composure, he raised his voice. But I'm an acquaintance of this maid. Don't interfere. He declared confidently, our Podex family has the Emperor's trust. Helena cursed inwardly. What nonsense. Through gritted teeth, she said, a baron like you dares to make demands of a duchess like me. Has the order of the imperial court crumbled to such a degree? He glanced around, thinking there's no one here. The new Duchess of Acrox has become the Crown Prince's aide. News of her switching to the Crown Prince's faction has been circulating for a month now. Even His Majesty dislikes it. If I cause trouble here, Podex reached out to grab the maid behind Helena, thinking that His Majesty would appreciate this. Before Helena could react, he shoved her hand away. Don't get in my way. His Majesty ordered me to bring this girl to him. Helena, looking at his arrogant face, sighed inwardly. How annoying. Fine, you want to play this game. Time quickly passed to the next day. Jackal Antho addressed her, Duchess. She immediately responded, yes. Looking at her bandaged hand, he asked what exactly happened. She replied calmly, "Nothing much." With a righteous air, Helena added, "I was just bored, so I was dispensing justice." Crown Prince Jackal looked at Helena with exasperation. "Duchess." Looking at her arm in a sling, he asked curiously what exactly happened. Helena replied nonchalantly, "Nothing much." She declared proudly, "I was just bored, so I was dispensing justice." Hearing this, the Crown Prince suddenly laughed. Helena also watched him intently, waiting for his next words. The Crown Prince asked, "Who are you talking about?" Recalling the previous scene, Helena had encountered a pervert harassing a young girl while she was on a walk. Helena, instantly becoming the hero to save the damsel in distress, had said, "I'm warning you one last time. Take your hands off her." The pervert continued to leer at Helena, asking arrogantly, "And what are you going to do about it, Duchess?" Without a word, Helena immediately lifted her skirt and kicked the pervert hard in the leg. "I'm going to do this. What about it?" The pervert clutched his leg and screamed in pain. Helena looked around for a street sign. How troublesome. The signs are too far away. The pervert, enraged by Helena's kick, changed his tone. "What are you doing?" Helena looked at him, thinking, should I put on my stockings and sue him? Suddenly, Helena heard a voice beside her ear. How annoying. "Do you want to be sent back where you came from?" Startled, Helena looked around. Did someone just speak in my ear? The voice urged her on. "Hit him. Hit him with your fist." Unsure of its origin, Helena obeyed. She raised her fist, oblivious to everything but the command, and struck with all her might. A single, earth-shattering blow landed squarely on the leering man, sending him sprawling to the ground, seemingly lifeless. A wave of satisfaction washed over Helena, but it lasted barely a second. The repercussions were immediate. A searing pain shot through her hand, her entire arm seizing up. A cry escaped her lips. Helena remembered everything, but she had no intention of revealing the full story to the Crown Prince. Watching her stand there, dazed, Jackal prompted, "Duchess, I dislike repeating myself." Despite this, he reiterated his question, "Who are you talking about?" "I hurt myself," Helena replied. Jackal frowned, clearly disbelieving her. "You spoke of dispensing justice just now. Explain yourself," Jackal demanded. Helena concocted a hasty excuse. "Yes, I was dealing with a particularly persistent fly in the palace. Think of it as preventative pest control for the benefit of everyone." Jackal remained unconvinced. An impasse settled between them, as palpable as fire and ice, neither willing to yield. "You have a remarkable talent for fabrication," Jackal observed dryly. Truthfully, Helena didn't care. "Thank you, Your Highness," she replied with a smile. Seeing this, Jackal could only sigh. "Do you think I'm unaware of what transpires within the palace walls?" Helena dropped the pretense. "Isn't this all due to Your Highness? Outsiders need not know the details." Jackal, reining in his irritation, maintained a deceptively gentle tone. "Am I an outsider? I am courting the Duchess. Surely, that grants me a closer standing than an outsider." With that, Jackal extended his hand towards Helena. She quickly stepped back, a silent sigh escaping her. Almost tempted, Jackal closed the distance between them, his voice laced with concern. "Is it serious?" "Not particularly," Helena responded casually. "Just a broken wrist." Jackal's gaze fell upon her injured arm. "Aren't you right-handed? How will you manage?" Helena immediately raised her left hand. "I'm ambidextrous, Your Highness. My work won't suffer. There's no need for sympathy." A smile played on Jackal's lips as he watched her. "Duchess," he murmured, gently stroking her hair. "You never shy away from your duties, yet you refuse to ask for respite when injured." His hand lingered for a moment. "If it were me, I would seek assistance in such circumstances." He then withdrew his touch. Helena sensed a shift in Jackal, a softening in his demeanor. But wasn't that all the more dangerous? In the original story, the climax of her sister's imprisonment occurred during Jackal's most tender moments. "You should return to your chambers and rest," Jackal suggested. Helena refused, her voice firm. "I have work to do." Seeing her resolve, Jackal didn't press the matter. He simply shrugged. Helena returned to her desk and continued to work through the mountain of documents. A few days later, while in her room, Helena received an unexpected summons from the Crown Prince. His Majesty requests the Duchess's presence, Rodmine announced. Helena made her preparations and set off to meet Jackal. On her way, she thought. I had Robin inform Jackal I would be late. However, when Helena arrived at the door, it remained closed. A servant offered apologies on Jackal's behalf. I apologize, but His Majesty has suddenly taken ill. He sends a small gift as an apology and requests you accompany me. Helena followed the servant. Stepping into the room, she realized instantly I knew it. They intended to lock her in this storehouse, yet Helena remained composed. I'll give you a piece of advice, she addressed the servant. My aide has already seen your face. If something happens to me, who do you think he'll go after first? If His Majesty claims ignorance, guess who will be punished? The servant flinched at Helena's words. Standing in the darkened room, Helena still radiated authority. If you want to live, go tell the crown prince that his aide will be arriving a little late. Just then, a sickening laugh echoed through the air. Ha ha! The lecherous Baron Pollock emerged from behind the door, a triumphant smirk twisting his lips. That won't work. Helena showed no fear. A faint smile played on her lips. Baron, we meet again. The Emperor had been trying to isolate Jackal, and Helena, the Duchess of Akrax, was on the Crown Prince's side. Harassment was, therefore, to be expected. Her recent ascension to Duchess had seemed an opportune moment for this. But Helena wasn't a fool. How could she not know he'd walked into a trap? Pollock bristled. I don't know what you're talking about, Your Grace. Oh, Helena asked, a chilling amusement in her voice. Pollock's smile turned predatory as he stepped closer. It seems you didn't just sleep your way to becoming the Duchess of Akrax. At his words, Helena thought, he's no knight, so where does his confidence come from? She fixed him with a steady gaze. Baron, this is my first and final warning. If you stop now, I'll let this go. I won't make a fuss. The perverse Baron erupted in laughter. Ha ha! His voice boomed. Do you still not understand why I dare to treat a duchess this way in the royal palace? Pollock stood before Helena and declared, because these are His Majesty's orders. Before coming here, Helena had given Rodmine instructions. He'd asked, all guards are to withdraw. Rodmine had hesitated. Are you sure you'll be all right? Helena's reply had been decisive. I'll be fine. What do you think? Rodmine immediately voiced his thoughts. While rescuing the maid, a voice had echoed in the void, and then her fist had glowed. Wasn't that the power of the treasure? Helena had smiled. You think so too? Back in the darkened room, Helena pondered silently. In the original story, my sister also heard the treasure's voice. Perhaps the treasure's power can only be wielded in the face of danger. She clenched her fist, her resolve hardening. It's worth a try. Even if I fail, I have a backup plan. Pollock gestured to the servant to close the door. Not daring to disobey, the servant quickly complied. Now only Helena and Pollock's faction remained in the room, surrounding her. Even so, Helena wasn't worried. She smiled. Baron, you seem very confident, even going so far as to claim these are His Majesty's orders. It doesn't matter, Pollock replied. You'll forget everything anyway. Just then, Helena heard something. But before she could understand what it was, Pollock's men began their attack. Helena instantly reacted. One lunge forward, fist swinging towards her, but Helena swiftly dodged. However, in dodging, she stumbled. Unable to regain her balance, Helena fell to the ground. She landed, unfortunately, on her injured arm. Struggling to rise, she questioned herself again. TSK, why is there no voice? Was I wrong? Helena sighed. This isn't good. I need to find a way to escape this place. Stupid. So stupid. Pollock's men quickly restrained her. At that moment, a strange voice echoed again. My master is like this. It wounds my pride. Simultaneously, Pollock produced a gleaming knife, a cruel smile playing on his lips. I don't mind letting you go peacefully. He pressed the knife against Helena's throat, threatening that by the end of the day, she would be a drooling idiot. Simultaneously, the voice continued. What are you doing? But only Helena could hear it. Having delivered his threat, Baron Pollock delegated the task of dealing with her to the others. The voice urged her to remove the bandages. In the blink of an eye, a miracle occurred. Though her wrist was clearly broken, the pain vanished. Swiftly, Helena ripped off the bandages and swung her fist into the face of the man holding her. Then, Helena became someone else entirely. She seized the remaining man's arm with lightning speed and hurled him a good 80 meters. An aura of immense power radiated from her. Helena's gamble had paid off. She smirked inwardly. Pollock, utterly terrified, trembled, the knife clattering to the floor. The tables had turned. Helena slowly approached him. You said no matter what, I'd forget everything, didn't you? Faced with such terrifying pressure, he whimpered, get away. Helena stepped on the knife. TSK, that's hardly an answer. Don't you know I'm the artifact's master, and you dared to attack me? Podex, pale as death, stammered in response to Helena's interrogation. How is that possible? Your sister, she's the one who possesses the artifact. Helena's eyebrows shot up in surprise. She frowned slightly, then a sudden, chilling smile spread across her face. I'll make you pay for this. Farewell. Don't come crying to me later. With that, Helena dispatched the remaining man with a single blow. The lecherous Baron lay motionless at her feet. This secret was supposed to be known only to close relatives. This meant someone was leaking information about the Acrox family. But the news about Callisto possessing the artifact probably didn't come from someone that close. After Helena dealt with Podex's men, the voice spoke again. So annoying. Helena glanced around quickly. That's the artifact's voice. Where is it? Despite her thorough search, she couldn't find anything out of the ordinary. Suddenly, a small, golden wing flitted into view. The voice was coming from there. Human, I am your master this week. Then, a small bird appeared before Helena. With nothing else there but the bird, Helena thought suspiciously, don't tell me this is the Archex artifact. Pointing at the bird, she asked incredulously what? This bird. At Helena's dismissive tone, the bird bristled. What's wrong with being a bird? Helena asked, bewildered. Isn't the Archex artifact supposed to be a weapon? The bird replied sullenly, it's because you can't use a weapon that I'm like this. It continued to criticize Helena. You're too weak, so no weapon is suitable for you. Helena could only laugh. It was undeniably true. But then Helena exclaimed, does that mean even barehanded combat is the same? The bird replied, exactly. I've never seen anyone weaker than you. Or you even. The bird poked and prodded her as it spoke, then added, I've sensed something strange from your soul. As they conversed, a sudden light appeared, and the bird quickly hid itself. The door opened, revealing Crown Prince Jackal, who rushed towards her. Jackal immediately embraced Helena. He also noticed the 3 motionless barons behind her. Jackal, now understanding what had transpired, spoke gently to Helena. You've been through a lot, Duchess. What shall we do with them? Seeing Helena's current state, he offered, shall I kill them? At this suggestion, Helena instantly grabbed his collar. She quickly stopped him. Breathing heavily, Helena said, no, your highness. You must handle this fairly as a witness. Helena lowered her head, but continued, you're intelligent. You must know why he attacked me. In a flash, Helena's demeanor shifted. Gripping the prince's collar, she declared, don't act rashly, or I'll regret becoming your ally. Slaughter isn't the solution. Her expression was strained. The rumors of her support for the prince had spread far and wide. If he caused any more trouble, wouldn't she be the one to suffer? Her words spoken, Helena's grip on Jackal's collar loosened. Even breathing felt difficult now. This was the price of wielding the artifact. The prince finally reacted, grasping her hand. You're surprisingly strong, he observed. Pulling her closer, he murmured, you're the first woman brave enough to grab my collar, Duchess. Perhaps we really should marry. His gaze locked onto hers. I'm serious, he affirmed. Helena felt the sincerity in his words. She stared at him, astonished. But regardless, marriage to the prince was not something she would accept. I don't want to, she retorted, pulling free from his embrace. Just then, her body swayed, her balance faltering. Jackal swiftly caught her. Helena, drained of strength, lay limp in his arms. Rest for a while, he whispered, held within the warmth of his embrace. Helena thought, though reluctant to admit it, Jackal's presence did bring a sense of security. Several days later, life in the royal palace continued as normal. Strangely, Baron Podex had vanished without a trace, and the royal family feigned ignorance of the incident. This was what they called silencing. They used the Baron as a pawn and then discarded him. Helena recalled the events of that night. After she collapsed in the darkened room, the prince had carried her away. She had awakened moments later, slowly opening her eyes to find herself in his arms. Ah, you're awake, he'd asked with concern. The sight instantly transformed her expression. It's only been 5 minutes, the prince said as he carried her. Even the maids seemed surprised by his gentleness. He brought her to a room, and as the door opened, Helena asked, puzzled, where are we? My bedroom, Jackal replied calmly, carrying her inside. Helena immediately protested, I need to return to my own chambers. Put me down, she insisted, struggling against him, but Prince Jackal refused to release her. You were attacked within the palace walls, he reasoned. Where do you think you'll be safe? With that, he gently placed her on his plush bed. He then placed a hand on her shoulder and asked, "Did you know they were going to attack you?" His tone suddenly sharpened. "Ah, the Duchess can wield an artifact, so the situation is different, isn't it? Regardless, stay here. I have something to bring you." With that, he turned and left. Helena, intimidated by his expression, dared not speak. Moments later, he returned with a necklace, offering it to her. Looking at it in his hand, Helena asked, perplexed, "What is this?" "It's something to help you recover," he explained. "A zodiac artifact, just like the ones you possess." Helena examined the necklace closely. Recognition dawned on her. "It's real. Wait, this is Spica, the artifact symbolizing purity." Despite recognizing the artifact, Helena hesitated to accept it. "Your Highness, why do you possess Marquee Spica's artifact?" she questioned. Jackal, slightly surprised by her knowledge, replied, "You seem to know a great deal about artifacts." Faced with a difficult question, Helena managed a strained smile. But the prince seemed unconcerned by the question. He sat down and said, "This is an artifact with healing abilities. I've been looking for someone who can use it, someone close enough to me to entrust it to." His gaze settled directly on Helena as he spoke. Helena, of course, didn't believe him. It was clear he'd obtained the artifact through threatening means. She immediately refused his offer. "There's no need. Just give me some medicine." Her rejection seemed to genuinely sting the prince. "How cruel," he said sharply. "Do you not understand my feelings? Didn't I say I intend to marry you, Duchess?" Jackal pressed Helena back against the bed. "While I cannot offer you the kind of love you might desire, I can give you wealth, honor, and power. Anything you wish. Think it over." He finished with a light kiss on Helena's hair. Helena considered his words. "If he knew my sister was the true master of the artifact, he would see me differently. Even if she refused him, she wouldn't regret it." Just then, the small bird reappeared, immediately launching into a critique. "You weakling, how could you be unconscious for 3 whole days?" After the incident, Helena had indeed been unconscious for 3 days. Fortunately, she was no longer in Jackal's bedroom when she awoke. The bird continued its berating. "So weak, what can you possibly accomplish?" Although it was Rodmine's first time seeing the bird, he recognized it. "That's the embodiment of the Akrax artifact." Rodmine asked incredulously, "What? Isn't Akrax represented by a lion? Why is it a bird?" Before Helena could answer, the bird turned its attention to Rodmine, pecking at him and squawking. "Of course my true form is a lion. This is my weakened state. This master is so weak, I can't maintain that form, so I become this." Helena could only offer a wry smile. The world of the constellations was beyond her comprehension. After being harassed by the bird, Rodmine said with a serious expression, "Congratulations, Helena. Congratulations, Duchess. You used the artifact." As if that wasn't enough, Helena added, "And then I was unconscious for 3 days." Putting the matter of the artifact aside, Rodmine turned the conversation to Prince Jackal. Perhaps his ambition will grow along with his obsession. Helena's face darkened at his words. She was taken aback, but then a thought occurred to her. "I'm only a half-heir. The plan to be exiled hasn't changed, but now there's no turning back. I'll try to use the relationship between the Emperor and Jackal to get myself exiled." After a moment of thought, she asked, "Is the maid I helped in the garden all right?" Rodmine replied, "Yes, she's living peacefully now." His expression was hesitant as he mentioned the maid. However, there's something off about her. Having received so much information in one day, Helena was stunned for a few seconds by this news. Rodmine continued, "She was taken by the Baron and then rescued by you, Duchess. So, with Baron Podex dealt with, it's difficult for anyone involved in that incident to be safe." After considering this, Helena replied, "Well, if the Emperor is behind it all, he would certainly dispose of anyone involved in this failed scheme." Rodmine continued, "Yes, so I had Shadow follow her. The bad news is she was attacked, but she's safe." Helena's face contorted in a mixture of surprise and confusion. Rodmine quickly clarified, before the attacker could touch her, someone dealt with him. The attacker was killed by a masked individual. The attacker had been taken away, and for the moment, there was no suspicious activity around the maid. Helena couldn't shake a feeling of doubt. Everything had been handled too cleanly, too efficiently, as if there were more to the maid's situation than met the eye. Was there anything distinctive about the person who saved the maid? Helena inquired. Rodmine replied, "Yes, they appeared wearing a cloak." A thought suddenly struck him. "It seems they had silver hair." He added, "That detail is also quite important." Helena pondered this. Silver hair was a trait found only among the nobility of the Eastern Empire. Someone from a secluded Eastern families appearing in this palace. Only one person came to mind. The one who had toyed with her sister in the original story. Not as loathsome as Jackal, perhaps, but troublesome nonetheless. It was only speculation, though. Helena couldn't be certain. Continue to keep an eye on the maid, she instructed Roadmine. If you find any trace of that person, inform me immediately. Roadmine promptly accepted the order. Having finished with Roadmine, Helena turned her attention to the small bird, who was diligently gnawing on a book. A thought occurred to her. Acrox, she asked, can artifacts recognize each other when they're close? The bird chirped an affirmative, yes. Then, if you're near one, could you tell who its owner is? Helena pressed. The bird replied reluctantly, of course, if it's truly the owner recognized by the artifact. So, if a family member simply possesses the artifact, they wouldn't be considered the owner. Helena questioned. At this, the bird hopped up, squawking, isn't that obvious? A bit temperamental, perhaps, but if Acrox was here, Helena could learn the identities of the Zodiac artifact holders in advance, allowing her to avoid them or forge alliances. Just then, a servant announced, Princess Hyia is here to see you. Helena froze. What? So suddenly? Why? Flustered, Helena scrambled to her feet. Even so, she had to quickly compose herself to receive the princess. Princess Hyia entered, radiating an almost incandescent glow. Greetings, she chirped cheerfully. Duchess Helena, Helena responded, is an honor to see you, princess. The princess hadn't come empty-handed. She carried an enormous bouquet of flowers. Helena, intrigued by the sheer size of the arrangement, couldn't help but stare. Hyia noticed, are you more interested in the flowers than in me? The princess teased, curious what they are. Helena quickly recovered. No, I apologize if I caused offense, princess. Hyia, seemingly unperturbed, waved a hand dismissively and gestured for a servant to take the bouquet. Well, it's not entirely unrelated to my visit today. Here, take them. Helena accepted the massive bouquet, her expression a mixture of surprise and bewilderment. Curious about the reason behind the gift, Helena asked frankly, yes, why are you giving these to me? Princess Hyia, with a gentle smile, replied, it's a marriage proposal, I presume. At the word proposal, Helena recoiled in alarm, practically diving behind her chair. Seeing this, Hyia quickly corrected herself. I'm just jesting. Come now, sit back down. The princess then revealed the true reason for her visit. These are a gift from my brother. I simply came to deliver them, and, well, to see you again. Hyrie's expression was one of deep satisfaction as she spoke. So, these flowers are from Prince Jackal? Helena asked, perplexed. The princess replied casually, as if I stole them. Helena grew more confused with every word. Her eyes widened in bewilderment. How did you know these were for me, princess? And why bring them here? What if they weren't? Helena questioned, her confusion mounting. The princess, now looking equally bewildered, explained that it was a romantic proposal setup orchestrated by her. Who in this palace doesn't know who my brother is ardently pursuing? She exclaimed. The princess continued, a playful smile on her face. Of course, someone like my brother, devoid of blood and tears, could never truly fall for you. Absolutely not. Then, abruptly, the princess's expression shifted, her eyes hardening into a chilling glare. Helena understood the underlying meaning in the princess's words. Good heavens, was this a warning? The princess seemed to be implying, my brother won't fall for you, so don't even dream about it. This wasn't something to be taken lightly. In the original story, the princess had dealt cruelly with any woman who approached the prince, as merciless as her pet snake. This pair of siblings had a chillingly ruthless side. Helena pondered for a moment, then asked, so His Highness doesn't know that you brought this here? Hyia, radiant and composed, replied, yes, my brother and I are close, so he'll understand. Her words seemed designed to shift all blame onto Helena. Helena watched the princess silently, but then Hyia continued, regardless, I have a request. I want your Zodiac artifact, a Cracks. Helena was taken aback by the princess's blunt proposal, something she couldn't possibly agree to. I'm very sorry, but even for you, princess, I cannot give it to you, Helena responded. A Cracks is an artifact our family must protect. Please forgive my impudence, but I cannot comply with this request. After hearing this, the princess didn't respond, merely offering Helena a fixed smile. Seeing Helena lower her head in apology, the princess spoke. Well then, Duchess, you apologize and wish for my forgiveness, correct? Then I expect you won't refuse my next request. And, Duchess, don't believe everything you see. Princess Hyia suddenly leaned close, whispering something in Helena's ear that made her eyes widen in shock. With that, the princess departed. The next day, as the sun climbed high, Helena was still racking her brain over the previous day's events. Even after a full day, she still felt uneasy. The princess's final words. Helena hadn't been able to concentrate on her work yesterday. The princess's whispered words echoed in her mind. Duchess, be careful. Something big is about to happen in this palace. You'd better think carefully about whether you can truly be with my brother. Recalling them now still sent a shiver down Helena's spine. How terrifying. Good heavens. That's sisterly jealousy. Just then, the crown prince arrived at the office. Seeing the unease etched on Helena's face, he asked, "Why do you look so worried? Did you not know I was coming?" Seeing the crown prince's expression, Helena suddenly remembered, "Oh, there haven't been any meetings lately, so it's been 3 days since I've seen him." The crown prince offered exaggerated praise. "You've been busy lately, but you look well, Duchess." Helena responded politely, "Yes, all thanks to you, Your Highness." Hearing this, the crown prince became more casual, placing his hand on her forehead and saying, "You really aren't feverish anymore, are you?" He then added with a smile, "I've missed you terribly, Duchess. So much, so that even I was surprised I couldn't focus on my work." Helena immediately spotted the flaw in his words, retorting, "But all the work has been completed perfectly. Who are you trying to fool?" Caught out, the crown prince flashed a confident smile. "Ha!" Helena's demeanor was different today. Instead of meeting the crown prince's gaze, she turned her head away, ceasing conversation. The crown prince quickly picked up on this. That's why he knew the reason was Helena's embarrassment. Her ears had turned red. Noticing this, the crown prince felt a surge of inner triumph. His plan seemed to be working. Just then, a servant rushed in, calling for the crown prince. He gasped, "Something terrible has happened. There's been a murder in the palace." The crown prince's expression immediately darkened. "What's so urgent that you're in such a state?" The servant hesitated. The body was found in your highness's bedroom." Hearing this, Helena was also shocked. The deceased is Marquee Spica. Helena quickly recognized the name. "What? That's the owner of the Zodiac artifact, the one Jackal showed me." At that moment, the servant continued their report, stating the cause of death as excessive blood loss from multiple stab wounds across the body. Hearing this, Helena felt her strength drain away. Could Jackal have done it? She wondered. The original story also mentioned him killing the owners of the Zodiac artifacts to seize the treasures. Finally, the servant concluded, "Perhaps you should see for yourself, Your Grace. His Majesty has summoned you." Throughout the entire report, the crown prince remained expressionless, his face an impassive mask. Rodmine, also aware of the news, gathered his thoughts. Marquee Spica was fiercely loyal to the prince, he said, and even offered his artifact willingly. It seems unlikely he'd be a target. He appeared to be a rather weak-willed man, but judging by past events, his loyalty seemed genuine. He used the artifact's power to heal many nobles, claiming it was by the prince's grace. Though he seemed weak, a Zodiac artifact isn't something one gives away easily, yet it ended up in Jackal's hands. Helena found herself caught in a web of perplexing thoughts, sinking into her chair to ponder and assess the situation. He was indeed loyal. But why would he be murdered? Jackal is intelligent. He wouldn't cause such a public commotion. Hearing Helena's words, Rodmine frankly replied, "Sometimes, Your Grace, you speak as if you've known the prince for a long time." After a long moment of contemplation, Helena set down the paper and declared, "Regardless, this is a false accusation orchestrated by the Emperor," Helena stated firmly. She immediately justified her claim. The more Marquee Spica used the artifact's power to heal the nobles, the greater Jackal's prestige grew. Therefore, they had to deal with the Marquee first. In the original story, the Emperor constantly harassed and created challenges for Jackal. I've witnessed several instances myself, and he had to endure it all alone. Then, she roused the Crocs, the bird, and asked, "Can you find out who killed Spica, the Zodiac's owner?" The small bird replied, "You just need to ask Spica." The one recognized as the owner has a conscious connection to the artifact. Spica saw and felt the moment of his master's death. But Spica was so careful in choosing his owner, and now he's lost the master he worked so hard to find. After listening, Helena summoned Rodmine. "Let's play detective," she said excitedly. Then, Helena quickly went to see Prince Jackal about the matter. "You mean Spica's Zodiac artifact? I heard that Marquee Spica's family is on their way here. as the next heir will bring the artifact. Helena asked suspiciously, "Can the heir use the artifact, Your Highness?" The prince replied, "It's Spica's bloodline. He should be able to use it, but I didn't expect the Duchess to be so interested. Are you considering an alliance with the Spica family? I heard the Marquee's younger brother, who's on his way, is about my age. Wouldn't I be a better choice at this age?" The prince mistook her interest for something more personal. He readily affirmed his own worth, but Helena, indifferent to such matters, immediately retorted, "I don't care about the Spica family at all. It's just that I haven't been feeling well, so I wanted to ask if your previous offer still stands. You mentioned using Spica's artifact to heal me." The prince was surprised by Helena's suggestion. "That's unexpected," he said. "I thought the Duchess would never ask for my help." Helena countered, "Actually, I did ask before, when you rescued me from the warehouse. I'll be sure to repay you." The prince seized the opportunity to suggest marriage as repayment, but Helena naturally refused. She would repay him in another way. After much flirtatious banter, Helena remained unmoved, and the prince sighed. But he still produced Spica's artifact. Watching him retrieve it from a desk drawer, Helena inwardly scoffed. Storing someone else's treasure in your own drawer hardly shows sincerity. The crown prince placed the artifact in Helena's hand. "Keep it for now," he said. "When Marquee's heir appears, I'll order him to answer to you." Achieving her goal so easily made Helena suspicious. "Wait," she asked, her brow furrowed. "You're giving this to me. Why?" The crown prince smiled. "For the moment, it's a masterless trinket, useless. If I keep it, someone will surely try to steal it. That's my intention, however. They won't suspect the Duchess is safeguarding it." Helena immediately countered, "Everyone knows I'm your aide." The prince replied, "True, but my enemies know I trust no one." Helena clutched Spica's artifact tightly. "But if you give it to me, you'll also be targeted." Unfazed, the prince settled back in his chair. "It doesn't matter. It's better than having it stolen. I'm used to being a target anyway." Studying the prince's expression, Helena questioned, "Your Highness is accused of murder, the body found in your very chambers, and yet you remain so calm. It makes the situation all the more difficult." At this, the prince raised an eyebrow. "Should I be weeping, then?" "By that logic, the Duchess shouldn't stand before a murderer without fear," he said with a smile. Helena responded, "Because you didn't kill him." The prince looked genuinely surprised. "Why do you think that?" he asked. Helena paused. "I'll tell you the truth if you promise not to punish me." The prince agreed, and Helena began to explain her reasoning. "Your Highness wouldn't do something so foolish. Since I was 8, I've handled all the paperwork, managed the attendance, collected the taxes. Just by observing how you handle documents, I've come to understand your habits, your thoughts, even your character. If your Highness were to deal with a political enemy, you would be meticulous or use others, leaving no trace, handling it perfectly. Because you will be emperor one day, and such actions mustn't be discovered." The prince hadn't expected Helena to say such things. A smile played on his lips. "So, in the Duchess's eyes, I'm such an exemplary individual." Helena quickly cut him off. "I simply believe you to be a respectable superior. It's purely professional." The prince gazed at Helena intently. "I won't disappoint your expectations," he murmured. With their conversation concluded, Helena left the room, Spica's artifact clutched in her hand. Looking at it, she thought, "I can use this to catch the killer." The sun was high in the sky. Helena quickly put her plan into action. She swiftly fetched a crocs and, presenting the artifact, asked anxiously, "Well?" The small bird replied, "It's definitely Spica." Then, a crocs immediately began hopping about, chirping Spica's name. As Spica stirred, the bird chirped, "Are you all right?" Suddenly, the artifact in Helena's hand lifted into the air, glowing brightly. In a matter of seconds, the necklace transformed into a small chick. Still disoriented from its sudden transformation, Spica tumbled towards the floor. Helena quickly reached out and caught it. Nestled in Helena's hand was a ball of white fluff. Spica, the Virgo zodiac, one of the 12. As soon as Spica's eyes opened, they filled with tears. "A crocs," it cried. "I've lost my master. What am I going to do?" Helena was at a loss. She looked to a crocs for guidance, but the bird simply shook its head. Then, it chirped directly into Helena's ear, "You have to soothe the crying baby." The two began to bicker. "Baby," Helena retorted. A crocs immediately replied, "What else? It's younger than me. In the world of the mystical constellations, I am 7th, and it is 8th. Helena had no choice but to gently soothe Spica. Cradling the small bird, she comforted it, though despite her best efforts, Helena couldn't quite believe she was managing to calm the creature. Then, the bird suddenly spoke in human tongue. Who are you? Your ability to soothe my emotions is truly remarkable. Spica sighed mournfully. I waited decades to meet a good master, and now I've lost him. Helena felt Spica's grief deeply, remembering the pain of her own parents' deaths. That cry was the lament of one who had lost someone precious. The sunlight intensified, mirroring the very task Helena was undertaking. A light of hope. Helena spoke to the bird. Spica, is it? I will help you. Then she asked, under the current circumstances, even though your master is dead, you cannot close your eyes. You witnessed your master's death, didn't you? Spica answered, yes. Helena quickly followed up, help me find a killer, and I will certainly pay the appropriate price. She extended her hand, as if to seal a bargain with the small bird. The moment Helena finished speaking, the image of Spica's lost master surfaced. The gentleness he had shown Spica unforgettable. At this moment, Spica's eyes began to gleam. It immediately agreed to Helena's proposal. Akrax has found a good master. All right, I will cooperate with you. Having secured its agreement, Helena immediately got to the point. Thank you. Although it might be difficult, can you tell me everything you remember now? Spica recalled sorrowfully. Master was stabbed with a sword. He died before he could be healed. Someone covered Master's body and threw it on the ground. Helena quickly pressed for more details. Do you have any impression of the assassin or the person who covered the body? Spica replied, I remember. If I see them again, I will definitely recognize them. Then Spica described the individual. The person who stabbed Master was wearing a vest. The person who covered the body was wearing a uniform. Hearing just this much, Helena could identify the person who covered the body. A knight. She continued to press for more information. Was there any pattern on the clothing? This could help me determine which faction this person belongs to. Spica quickly answered, it was a rose, an orange rose. Helena was utterly shocked by this detail. A knight with an orange rose emblem. Isn't that a Western knight? They are knights loyal to the princess. So the person who killed the Marquee and put Jackal in danger is the princess. Helena hesitated at this conjecture. No, impossible. If it were the princess, why would she handle it so clumsily? That person wanted to frame the princess to create conflict between the siblings. Just then, the bird suddenly exclaimed, I remember. I know this place. The person in uniform carried Master's body here. As Spica spoke, two people unexpectedly passed by. It immediately recognized one of them, saying, that's how it happened. That person, he carried Master's body. One of these two people is an accomplice to the mastermind. Indeed, someone was passing by in the distance, and Helena was also surprised by the guards. She thought to herself, I come here often, and this is a place where few people pass by. If I had known earlier, I should have brought a knight here, or even rode mine. Helena would never miss this golden opportunity. She immediately followed the two individuals. They walked quite far, and Helena moved quickly, because she was so focused on the pair. Helena bumped into a maid. Helena quickly apologized. Are you all right? The maid also quickly apologized. It was only then that Helena looked up at the maid. She quickly recognized her as the maid she had saved before. Helena hurriedly extended her hand to the maid and said. The girl, brimming with earnest loyalty, blurted out, thank you for your help that time. Helena, her gaze drifting towards two figures in the distance, replied with a touch of dismissiveness. Don't mention it, but I'm a bit busy right now. This maid is a bit suspicious. She mused, but that's not the priority at the moment. With those words hanging in the air, Helena swiftly departed. The girl's expression morphed into one of concern as she watched Helena leave. Your Grace, the girl called out urgently, is there anything I can do to help? I'm sorry, but it seems like you were following those people who just passed by, right? I know who they are. Helena was taken aback by the maid's perceptiveness. She's more observant than I thought, she thought, knowing what I'm trying to do just by observing the situation. Perhaps they're part of the same organization, or maybe she has some ulterior motive. Just like Jackal, trust was a luxury she could no longer afford. Despite her reservations, Helena extended a hand to the girl with a gentle smile. Please get up. The ground is cold. So, Helena inquired, can I have your help? The maid, taking Helena's hand, slowly rose to her feet. Suddenly, a hand shot out, pulling Helena away from the maid. Excuse me. Helena stumbled backward, losing her balance, as a silver-haired man appeared behind her. He caught her. Helena quickly regained her footing and stared at him in bewilderment. Did my sister do something wrong? The man asked. Duchess Helena was surprised by his words, realizing they were siblings. His appearance clearly marked him as a nobleman, yet his sister was a maid. A strange pairing indeed. While it wasn't unheard of for maids in the palace to be of noble birth, as she pondered this, a crucial detail struck Helena. She looked at the man's silver hair and the fact that he was currently in the palace. It dawned on her. This man was Pollock, a supporting character from the story, from the Marquee Pollock's family. The only supporting male character who, despite Jackal's objections, pursued the female lead. Contrary to his aloof exterior, the closer one got to him, the more apparent his stubbornness became. He was currently the Marquee Pollock's, yet his sister was a maid. In truth, Helena was only interested in the entanglement between the male lead, Jackal, and the female lead. All her attention had been focused on those two protagonists. As for this supporting character, she only vaguely remembered Helena ruffling his hair once. Everything else was a blur. She wondered what this young man was doing here all alone. The maid broke the silence. "Brother, I don't know what you're thinking, but this is a misunderstanding. The Duchess helped me." Knowing that the girl was Helena Pollock of the Marquee Pollock's family, Helena stated firmly, "So I want to help the Duchess too." Distracted by the unexpected reunion of the Pollock siblings, Helena suddenly remembered what she needed to do. She whipped her head back towards where he had been standing, but of course he was gone. "Missed my chance," she muttered in disappointment. Hearing this, Helena quickly spoke up. "Don't worry, I know where they went. Let me lead the way." The young girl was immediately stopped by her brother. Their stances clashed as they both turned to argue. "Lead the way. Don't lead the way. What are you talking about? Don't interfere." Neither was willing to back down. Caught between them, Helena chuckled softly before sighing. "Calm down. I don't think I've even had proper introductions yet." The girl immediately introduced herself. "My name is Helena Pollock, Your Grace." Without waiting for Helena to ask, Helena quickly explained, "I don't use my family name often because I was banished from the family. Thank you for helping me." The detail about being banished helped Helena recall more of the novel's plot. He had a younger sister who was already dead, Helena remembered. In the original story, Pollock had once said to his sister, Callisto, "Sometimes looking at you reminds me of my deceased sister." This didn't align with the current situation, as the person before her was indeed his sister. But Helena then realized that this girl was the one who was supposed to die. Not entirely trusting the original story, Helena continued to ponder the relevant details of the present situation. The Emperor couldn't be unaware of the Pollock's family affairs. So could Baron Podes taking Helena away be. Part of the Emperor's scheme. The Pollock's family also belonged to the Zodiac families. If she hadn't been there to intervene, the one who died might have been Helena. And this time, it was Marquis Spica, the owner of the treasure, who had died. Who threw the Marquis's body into Jackal's room? To frame him. It was the Emperor, the one connected to the Zodiac treasures. Because if Helena had died, Jackal and Rain would have become enemies. Could it be that in the original story, they became mortal enemies because of this sister? Helena couldn't ignore this speculation. She thought for a moment, then asked Helena again, "So, can you tell me where they went?" Before Helena could answer Helena's question, Pollock interjected, "I have no intention of letting my sister get involved in these suspicious matters." Helena angrily bit her brother's hand. Even without Rain's consent, Helena politely asked, "Then how should I address you?" Rain replied, "You can call me Mr. Pollock." Now that she knew how to address him, Helena changed her tone and said, "All right, Mr. Pollock. Was I asking you? Can't Helena express her own thoughts? If not, are you disrespecting me?" Hearing this, Rain suddenly recalled an old saying, "Women are truly troublesome." He immediately changed his mind and said, "That's not it. I was wrong. I won't stop her anymore, but could I participate as well?" Helena was a little surprised by Pollock's proposal, although the request was a bit strange. Considering she had already given Roadmine so many tasks, she couldn't bear to burden him further. Therefore, Helena decided to accept Rain's proposal. She smiled and said, "All right, let's go back first." On the way back to the room, Helena added, "If you're coming along, you have to make a pact." Rain asked suspiciously, "What pact?" Helena quickly explained, "Just a promise of confidentiality, no matter what you see." Rain immediately replied, "That's not difficult, but shouldn't you also have my sister keep silent?" Helena answered, "No. Unlike those who were rude from the start, my first impression of Helena is that she's trustworthy." Then she suggested, I'd be happy if you swore an oath with a treasure, like Spica's treasure. Oaths made with treasures cannot be broken by Zodiac families. This is important." This seemed like a difficult request, but no, Rain agreed immediately. Helena was a little surprised by Rain's easygoing attitude. She thought, is it really this easy? I didn't expect him to help me so readily. What is his purpose? And so the three of them decided to begin, agreeing to meet again tomorrow. After the two left, Helena immediately called to Krax and asked to Krax, is that person really a Zodiac master? The small bird replied, yes, he is the master of the Gemini Pollux constellation. But isn't there also Castor near Pollux? Another new name appeared. Krax quickly explained, that's Pollux's twin brother. The Gemini treasure has two individuals. Early the next morning, Helena and Rain Pollux began their plan. She was lurking behind a wall, observing. Rain looked at her and said, this place is no longer in use. The second night unit that was originally stationed here has moved out. As far as I know, this place is going to be demolished and rebuilt in a week. Inside are only the two suspects they're tracking. Helena whispered to Spica. Spica immediately pointed out the culprit, the smiling knight. With her enemy identified, Helena swiftly turned to Rain for assistance. Mr. Pollux, Helena began earnestly, can you subdue him? The one with dark blue hair and green eyes. The proximity of their faces as she spoke sent an unexpected jolt through Rain. Rain hesitated for a few heartbeats. You mean subdue all of them? Helena quickly corrected him. No, we follow him from behind, subdue him, knock him unconscious, and then kidnap him. Rain could only stare. Excuse me. He was utterly bewildered by her plan. Rain's expression, already cool, turned glacial. Suspicion sharpened his voice. What exactly are you talking about? I was wondering why you sent my sister away, and it was for this. Lena, meanwhile, was waiting amongst the shrubbery. Disappointment flickered across Helena's face. Do you never plan anything? She challenged. Rain ignored the question, countering with his own. Why would you do this? At Rain's bewildered expression, Helena clicked her tongue in frustration. Tisk, you've had it too easy. Unlike me, who's been arguing with subordinates since I was 9. Seeing she wouldn't persuade him, Helena resolved to act alone. Fine, if you don't want to help, then leave. Don't get in my way. She turned to follow the knight, but Rain's hand shot out, catching her wrist. Wait, if I leave, what will you do? Helena finished, brimming with self-assurance. I have my own resources. After the Baron incident, she had secretly arranged for bodyguards and the Akrax. She wasn't afraid of what might happen. Despite her declaration, Rain didn't release her hand. Helena was forced to add, however, Mr. Pollux, you're quite adept at holding a woman's hand. Is a hobby of yours. Helena's bluntness startled Rain. He snatched his hand back, a flush rising on his cheeks. I didn't mean anything by it. It was just a reflex. Helena couldn't resist teasing him further. You mean you've held so many women's hands that it's become second nature? Rain, clearly a sheltered soul, blushed even deeper at her teasing. He turned away abruptly. That's not it. I apologize. Helena, thoroughly enjoying herself, replied, all right, apology accepted. Rain then declared, I'll help you. Let's go together and be obedient. I always keep my word. Helena eyed him with a touch of skepticism. Is it because you swore on your treasure? She inquired. Rain didn't deny it. Isn't that what you commanded? Regardless of the reason, Rain was now committed to assisting her. Helena laid on the charm. How kind of you. I don't dislike people like that. She then touched Rain's hand lightly, her voice conspiratorial. Let's go. The gesture, intentional or not, was easily misinterpreted. Rain flushed again at her words and touch. You're the crown prince's lover, you know, he mumbled. With that awkward exchange behind them, they set off, following the knight. After a period of observation, the knight finally moved. Hey, the target is moving, Helena hissed. Follow him. They both transformed into branches, keeping pace with their quarry. Not just branches. Helena used any available cover to conceal their pursuit. After some time, they reached the knight's next stop. Rain and Helena quickly found places to hide. The knight entered a room where other knights were already gathered. In a blink, Rain had incapacitated all 4 of them. The dark blue-haired knight lay unconscious among his comrades. Helena quickly knelt beside the unconscious knight, assessing him. Incredible, she thought, impressed. He took down 4 royal knights in an instant. Having dealt with the underlings, Rain dusted off his hands. He turned and asked, is this all right? Helena immediately gave him a thumbs up. Good work. He then asked, so what do we do now? Helena replied, I'm thinking. Where should we interrogate him? Helena summoned Spica once more. You can communicate with the Krax, right? She asked. Yes, Spica confirmed. Hearing the name Spica, Rain Pollux looked utterly astonished. You can see a celestial spirit that doesn't belong to your family. He asked, stunned. Rain Pollux had never seen anything like it. He could scarcely believe his eyes. Faced with Rain's question, Helena wrestled with her conscience. This truth absolutely could not be leaked, but she had already sworn an oath on a precious artifact, so she would have to tread carefully. Helena abruptly stood and walked towards Rain, offering a smile. "Please help me." Rain Pollux quickly backed away, his expression a mixture of alarm and bewilderment. He didn't understand what she was talking about. Helena swiftly gestured towards the captured knight. "You said you would help me, didn't you? This all depends on you." Rain finally understood her intention. He frowned. "This woman, but why me? I thought I was just helping with the fighting." With the suspect apprehended, Helena returned to her study. She worked, her mind preoccupied with the interrogation that needed to be completed that afternoon. While Helena worked, Rain was left to guard the knight. He was disgruntled, but there was nothing he could do. As for Lena, the young maid had decided to stay. Seeing her standing stiffly, Helena said, "Lena, you can sit down." Despite Helena's offer, Lena remained resolute. "No, thank you. I can stand," she replied. Observing Lena's captivated expression, Helena thought, why is she looking at him like that? But there was no time to dwell on it. Just finish the work, she told herself. Some tasks couldn't be postponed. She could have simply set them aside, but she couldn't bring herself to do it. Helena possessed a strong sense of responsibility. Leaving work undone would have left her feeling deeply uneasy. She and Crown Prince Jackal were in this together, and she was determined to help him uncover who had framed him. She would continue until she was forced to stop, even if it meant riding a good horse all the way back home. Finally, the Crown Prince arrived at the office. As soon as he entered, Jackal greeted Helena with an affectionate call. "My love," he said, approaching her with a cheerful expression. "Are you well?" Helena, maintaining her usual cool demeanor, replied, "I was perfectly fine until your highness arrived." The Crown Prince was by now accustomed to her manner of speaking. He smiled, glancing at Helena's desk. "Are you busy?" he asked. "Yes, I am," Helena confirmed. Despite knowing she was busy, the Crown Prince enjoyed conversing with her. "You're submitting your leave request tomorrow, aren't you?" he asked with a smile. Though Helena felt a flicker of discomfort, she responded politely, "Thank you for approving my leave." Even if he hadn't, she would have taken it. He had given her that freedom. Hearing this, the Crown Prince was about to suggest a change of plans, but his attention was suddenly drawn to the new maid. "I haven't seen this maid before," he remarked with surprise. "Did the Duchess bring her?" Seizing the opportunity to change the subject, Helena quickly answered, "Yes. I'm particularly fond of her, so she'll be staying with me for a while. Speaking of which, Your Highness, I have a question for you." Uncharacteristically proactive, Helena reached out and touched the Crown Prince's hand. He happily accepted the contact. "What is it?" he asked. "How is your relationship with the princess?" Helena asked directly. At this question, the Crown Prince fell silent for a moment. "Quite close," he finally replied. Helena sensed a subtle shift in his tone, but she maintained her composure. "I see," she responded. "Then the princess must not be put in any danger." Jackal, the Crown Prince, sat in his chair, continuing his conversation with Helena. "You speak strangely, as if I'm going to run into trouble." As expected, the prince's intuition was sharp. Even so, Helena didn't admit it. "Is that how you heard it?" "You misunderstood." Whether or not anyone was present, Jackal remained at ease. Lena, meanwhile, was being force-fed a hefty dose of romantic tension. Suddenly, the prince shifted closer, his voice low. "Don't do anything unnecessary." He gently stroked Helena's hair. "If the Duke were to get hurt, I would be very upset. Do I need to be any clearer?" At such close proximity, Jackal's handsome features captivated Helena. He gazed at her intently. "I don't want to see you hurt again." Hearing his sweet words, the chill that had settled in Helena's spine dissipated, replaced by a new expression. A blush crept up her cheeks, and she shyly averted her gaze. "He's doing it again, but why am I so nervous? I'm going crazy." Helena quickly regained her composure. "I can't let these fantasies control my thoughts. Get a grip. This kind of thing isn't real. If I indulge it, I'm doomed." She hastily pushed Jackal away. "Yes, I'll be careful. As your assistant, I won't be a bother." Jackal, however, remained resolute in blocking her path, continuing his flirtation. "If only you were my lover and not my assistant." Helena continued to deflect his advances with unwavering resolve. "I must focus on my work." Their exchange captivated Lena, who watched their little romantic drama unfold with rapt attention. After a while, Jackal finally returned to his work. Only then did Lena approach Helena, whispering, as the rumors say, "You two really are a couple deeply in love. Helena immediately denied it. It's not like that. Time slowly ticked by, and afternoon arrived, signaling the end of the workday. Helena quickly stood up. I'll be going now. Today's schedule is complete. Seeing Helena prepare to leave, Jackal paused, setting down his pen and rising to his feet. He, too, intended to depart. Helena looked at him quizzically. Where are you going? The prince replied calmly. Wherever the duke goes, I follow. Take me with you. I'm bored. Helena refused without hesitation. No, I'm going back to my room. Do you understand? With that, she turned and left, Lena bowing and hurrying after her. Unable to follow, Jackal could only stand there, arms crossed, watching Helena's retreating figure. Helena quickly moved out of Jackal's sight and immediately summoned a Krax. The small bird appeared swiftly. Time was of the essence, so Helena got straight to the point. Kanyo sinsaan umantrasas. A Krax flapped its wings in response. Yes, I'm a weapon based on martial power. Then Helena suddenly whispered, so, can you sense the prince's traces? A Krax replied, you mean that red-haired fellow? I can't sense him. Hearing a Krax's words, Helena finally dared to breathe a sigh of relief. Reassured, she returned to her room. Rain Pollock was still there. Seeing him, Helena smiled. You really kept your promise. Thank you, Mr. Pollock. Although Pollock remained on watch, his expression clearly conveyed his reluctance. At that moment, Roadmine spoke up. The Duke has arrived. Helena continued. Roadmine, you must be tired too. But Master Pollock, why does your complexion look so unwell? Hearing Helena's words, Rain Pollock completely erupted. He shouted angrily at Helena. How could I possibly be comfortable in the Duke's bedroom? Rain Pollock wasn't just angry. His face was flushed. Helena didn't pay him much mind, but still politely replied, is that so? She walked over and patted Rain's shoulder. You've worked hard. I'll definitely repay you. After the tedious pleasantries, the crucial moment finally arrived. The knight, bound and waiting for a considerable time, remained in position. Helena, her gaze filled with a chilling curiosity, addressed him. Now then, let the interrogation begin. Turning to her aide, she inquired, Roadmine, are you prepared? Roadmine responded, Your Grace, there's no need for concern. I brought in seasoned professionals. With Roadmine's introduction, a man and a woman stepped forward. Suddenly recalling something, Helena addressed Rain. Have you met my assistants yet? A faint smile played on her lips. You're not alone now, so you shouldn't be so worried, should you? Rain Pollock desperately wanted to retort that he wasn't worried at all, but he couldn't, so he opted for silence. The pleasantries had run their course. The primary objective was at hand. Helena's expression transformed, her eyes hardening as she commanded, Good. Then let us begin. The two individuals who had been summoned swiftly carried out their task, loosening the ropes that bound the knight slightly. The quickest way to make an interrogation effective was through torture, but Helena refrained from such brutal methods. She opted for a gentler approach, employing magic. Rain was taken aback by Helena's method. He thought to himself, this is unexpected. I never imagined the Akrax family would have mages in their service. Mages are so arrogant, unwilling to serve nobles. Even the royal family has few. But there are two of them here, so they must have sufficient reason to be confident in their interrogation. Observing the interrogation, Helena mused, thanks to my subordinates, I've already heard and gathered sufficient evidence. Just as I suspected, the Emperor is trying to sow discord between Jackal and the princess. With the interrogation concluded, Helena summoned Spica. This man is one of the murderers who killed your master. What do you want to do with him? Spica beat its wings furiously. Then, hopping onto Helena's shoulder, it asked, Can you lend me your strength? Helena replied, Of course. Just as Spica prepared to deal with the condemned man, a knock echoed through the room. The familiar voice of the crown prince followed. Darling, are you in there? From outside, Jackal Anthos called out, Helena Akrax, are you in your room? Inside, Helena's face paled. Receiving no answer, he opened the door and entered. Allow me to come in. The door swung open, and Jackal Anthos stepped inside, his gaze sweeping across the room. Helena Akrax attempted to maintain a calm demeanor as she asked, Is something the matter? Noticing her coolness, Jackal Anthos immediately responded, Do I need a reason to see you? I was worried when my aide told me you left work early today. Lowering his voice, he asked solicitously, Are you feeling unwell? Helena Akrax, still striving for a normal tone, replied, Thank you, but I'm fine. Jackal, showing no sign of leaving, continued to scan the room. Observing him, Helena Akrax thought, I must get him out of here as quickly as possible. Just then, Jackal Anthos suddenly declared, Allow me to stay for a while. Seeing that she couldn't stop him, Helena Acrax frantically reached out telepathically, "Road mine." The command was instantly received. Yes, Road mine immediately used magic to conceal everything, ensuring Jackal Anthos wouldn't discover anything amiss. Helena Acrax remained apprehensive. Even with magic, it won't last long. She attempted to distract him, but he seemed to have noticed something. "Your Highness, as you can see, I'm perfectly fine. So, is there something urgent you need? If not, I'd like to rest." Jackal Anthos, noticing the sword lying on the floor, immediately questioned, "Then what is that?" Helena Acrax turned, her eyes widening in alarm. Inwardly, she cried, "Oh no." She attempted to fabricate a plausible excuse. What's so strange about a sword being in the Duke's room? Jackal Anthos conceded the point, but his next words left her speechless. "True, but why is it on the floor?" He continued, a playful smirk gracing his lips. "My dear Duke, I thought you were my person." Helena Acrax countered as Jackal Anthos stepped closer, his voice sincere when doesn't matter. "What matters is that I hold you in high regard." Helena was unsure how to respond to his words. Leaning in, Jackal murmured close to her ear, "So I hope you won't hide anything from me." At his words, she unconsciously hugged her arms tighter around herself. "This is terrifying," she thought, "but I don't intend to tell him. I don't want to attract too much attention, especially with two prominent figures in the family already." "Duke," Jackal called out, and Helena hesitantly replied, "Yes." He suddenly smiled. "You mustn't deceive me, all right? If you want to learn swordsmanship, come to me." Jackal lightly kissed the back of her hand. "There's no man more skilled than I." He then turned to leave. "You look tired, so I'll take my leave. I'll see you tomorrow." With Jackal's departure, Road Mine breathed a sigh of relief, as if a great weight had been lifted. "Phew, I thought we were going to be discovered." Rain Pollock watched her silently, seemingly lost in thought. After Jackal left, Helena remained silent. After an indeterminate amount of time, she spoke. "Thank you for your help. Master Pollock, if you ever need assistance, please don't hesitate to ask. I'll definitely repay you." But Pollock remained silent, and she found his quietness unsettling. After a moment, he spoke. "Duke, are you and the Crown Prince truly in a passionate relationship, as the rumors suggest?" Helena felt as if she'd been struck by lightning. "Why would you bring that up?" Pollock calmly replied, "Those rumors are quite widespread." Helena was silent for a long moment, then slowly said, "It's not true. I'm also quite uncomfortable hearing those rumors. And it's true His Highness can be easily misunderstood, but it's not like that." Pollock asked again, "Are you certain?" Helena answered without hesitation, "Of course. But what does it matter?" Pollock immediately replied, "Nothing." He spoke softly, "I'll remember this offer of repayment. I hope you'll keep your word." Without a second thought, Helena immediately replied, "Of course." Time passed quickly, and it was now the next day. Helena spoke seriously. "There's something I need to discuss." Jackal sat solemnly, listening. "What is it you wish to say?" Helena seemed to be considering her words, hesitant to speak. Seeing this, Jackal said, "Just say it." But she hesitated. "It's a bit difficult to discuss here." Finally, she decided, "Could you come with me somewhere?" Helena led Jackal to a certain location. Looking around at the unfamiliar surroundings, he couldn't help but ask, "What is this place?" She immediately explained, "It's a warehouse Acrax borrowed from the royal family." With that, she snapped her fingers, and the entire space was instantly illuminated. Before them stood two bound individuals and two guards standing watch. Helena immediately said, "Your Highness, this person is one of those who dared to frame you." Jackal turned to look at her, his mind racing. Helena gazed back at him steadily. He clearly recognized the person and must have realized what had transpired yesterday. Yet he remained impassive, saying nothing. This was his way of testing a person. Jackal turned to the bound individual and slowly asked, "Ah, so someone tried to pin the murder on me, and this is the one who did it." Helena firmly replied, "Yes, that's correct." However, he then countered, "How does the Duke know this?" Helena didn't hesitate. "When I was locked in a warehouse that day, I overheard the knights talking about it." But in truth, she knew she was lying. Helena continued, "I don't know if it was because they wanted to get rid of me, but they revealed a lot of their secret plans." Jackal Anthos asked, puzzled, why she hadn't told him sooner. Helena Acrax replied calmly that she hadn't been certain at the time. "I thought," she continued, "it might create friction between your Highness and myself." Jackal Anthos pressed her. "If I truly were being framed, why would you tell me? Wouldn't my difficulties be more advantageous to you, Duke Acrax?" He chuckled. "You could return to your beloved home. I'm well aware you don't wish to remain by my side for long. How could I not know?" Helena Acrax didn't hesitate to admit, "You're right, but I believe I did the right thing." Jackal Anthos listened intently. So you're saying you did this simply because you believed it was right. The concept is rather foreign to me. Helena Acrax sighed inwardly. Yes, she thought, he is the future tyrant. Aloud, she said nothing as Jackal Anthos gestured towards the bound man. Good. Consider this a gift, then. He laughed, a playful lilt in his voice. Wouldn't it be convenient if he never woke up? Helena Acrax responded coldly. Don't even dream of it. Jackal Anthos grinned. You acting like this is practically a proposal. Having said this, his face flushed crimson with a sudden, unexpected embarrassment. Nearby guards, witnessing the exchange, murmured amongst themselves. The Duke is in love, one whispered. The rumors are true, after all. Helena Acrax inwardly cursed their nosiness. Honestly, these people, turning away in exasperation, she said, my knights are all watching. Stop joking. Besides, I won't give you anything for free. Jackal Anthos chuckled. Oh, my dear Duke, I heard you say it was a gift. Have I been deceived? What is it you desire, then? His face fell when he heard her request, resignation. Let me resign, she said earnestly. All I need is your highness's approval. Correct. Jackal Anthos gave a wry smile. Fine, he conceded, then strode towards her. He reached out and twirled a lock of her hair between his fingers. But you must stay here for at least 3 months. Helena Acrax thought, I'll endure it until my sister returns. To him, she said decisively agreed. Jackal Anthos beamed. I gladly accept this gift. But his expression shifted in an instant. How I handle him is none of your concern, is it? She replied instantly. It is not. Helena Acrax looked at the captive. Suddenly, Jackal Anthos spoke again. But I do have something to tell you, Duke. I'll be taking some leave. I'll see you again in a few days. A flicker of disappointment crossed Helena's face. I don't want to hear that, she thought glumly, but her voice was obedient. Understood. Time passed quickly. A few days flew by. The culprit behind Marquee Biker's murder had been apprehended. The perpetrator was Biscuit Cast II. It turned out there was a pre-existing feud between the families. Helena Acrax pondered. Were they merely puppets? The stain on Jackal's reputation had vanished. This meant Jackal had triumphed in his struggle against the Emperor, and the knight she had handed over to Jackal had disappeared without a trace. Though I don't want to know, she thought, I need to learn his fate. Because of Spica, I must return Spica no matter what. Can I entrust it to Jackal? Doubt gnawed at her. Would Jackal gently return the creature to the Spica family's heir? An image flashed through her mind. Jackal, laughing derisively. Since it's fallen into my hands, it's mine now. Another worry surfaced. Perhaps Spica would remain chained, waiting for its next master. This isn't my only concern. I may not be Acrax's master, but I am the Duke of Acrax. My words still carry weight. So why can I communicate with Spica? She remembered Rain Pollock's astonishment. You saw the form of a treasure that doesn't belong to your family. Helena Acrax mused. Even Rain had been surprised, meaning it wasn't normal, not now. A thought suddenly struck Helena. Could she communicate with other treasures too? She thought wryly, I don't know. The original story didn't mention anything like this. She softly called out, Acrex. Acrex appeared, stating that no one else was present, which left her feeling somewhat frustrated. Helena Acrax leaned closer. Acrex, she whispered, can you speak to me with your thoughts? Acrex replied instantly, of course, as long as the owner is listening. Helena was satisfied. Good. She quickly asked, do you know why I can understand what Spica is saying? Acrex's immediate response was, I do not. I have never seen this happen except with the first owner. Acrex continued, perhaps the reason lies within your soul. Helena Acrax was taken aback. Soul. Acrex's words sent her into deep thought. She kept wondering, was the one in the Marquee's hand a Pollock's family treasure? If she knew that, everything would become clear. Just then, Jackal Anthos appeared. Been waiting long? He asked. No, she replied instantly. Ah, the princess wishes to express her gratitude to the Duke, he said. She stared blankly. The princess. Jackal Anthos immediately replied, yes. Why? She asked, bewildered. Jackal Anthos chuckled. Let me see. Perhaps it's because she discovered the truth about someone trying to frame me for murder. Helena was shocked. Did Jackal tell her? Are they that close? She forced a smile. I see. But inwardly, she thought, perhaps I need to try harder so I don't become the princess's target. Jackal Anthos spoke slowly. I said I had something to tell you, right? Yes, she replied instantly. He continued, this is what I've observed in the past 3 months working with you. She sighed inwardly. Time flies. Finally, he offered his assessment. You are beautiful, confident, intelligent, and quick-witted. He stepped closer, tilting her chin upwards. There aren't many who satisfy me, but they usually fall into one of two categories. One is an enemy, the other is mine. Her hand tightened unconsciously on the edge of the table. Is he recruiting me? She hesitated. If your highness wants me on your side. Jackal Anthos immediately cut her off. No, that's not what I mean, he said intensely. Be my lover. The words hung in the air, leaving her speechless. Is he joking again? She wondered suspiciously. Even knowing that, I'm still drawn to this face. This face is really bad. And because I haven't seen his tyrannical side multiple times, I've become careless. She thought suspiciously, is it because I didn't choose the imprisoned route? I don't know what you're talking about, she said slowly. I refuse. I'm serious, Jackal Anthos said firmly. He's not joking, she realized. Jackal Anthos leaned closer. Duke, I need my own lover. Need? What are you talking about? Helena Acrex asked, bewildered. He admitted without hesitation. Yes, I need a lovely lover who will endure confinement. Helena Acrex's eyes widened in shock, but the next second she cursed furiously in her mind. What is this madman saying? Lover. He must want me to pretend to be his lover to deceive the Emperor. Because for this man, who even used love in the original story, it's entirely possible. These aren't sincere words. So this is also acceptable, but I can't. If I become this man's lover, then I'll be threatened by the Emperor. I'm not a talented knight like my sister. No matter how smart I am, I'm just weak. I can't die before I see my sister again. Helena Acrax tried to maintain her composure. Judging by your expression, it seems you won't take no for an answer, will you? Jackal Anthos asked unexpectedly. You seem to know my intentions better than I do. I apologize, but I might not be able to accept this proposal right now. She inquired, why not try pleasing His Majesty in other ways? He listened intently. Don't you need a lover to deceive His Majesty? Jackal was under immense surveillance and pressure from the Emperor. If it were anyone else, they might have already gone mad. He then asked, what will the Duke do for me? She smiled faintly. I will give you the power to deceive the Emperor. After listening, Jackal Anthos seemed to understand her intentions. He asked, are you saying that Acrax will side with me? Helena Acrax didn't dare to make promises. I'm not sure about that, but doesn't everything require money? She thought to herself, Jackal's power is no match for the Emperor's, and I know what he lacks. She confidently assured him, I'll take care of the financial issues. I'm quite good at collecting taxes. You see, let's rewind to how I obtained my current territory. Uncle Robson McDowell, who adopted my sister and me, was a highly recognized knight. He was the vice commander of the night patrol, guarding the front lines. The problem was he didn't know how to manage a territory. Corrupt officials were everywhere, causing the people of the territory to suffer constantly. Famine began to spread. Robson McDowell said helplessly, what is territory management? Shouldn't I just kill all those corrupt officials? Then, the young Helena Crax said seriously, if you're that extreme, my sister won't like it. Aren't you considering our feelings? Please think it over. Thanks to you, I know about knightly affairs, but that's all. Robson McDowell watched from the side, only managing a helpless smile. Completely opposite directions, child. This seems a bit serious. Helena Acrax had made up her mind from a young age. Only I can save this territory. This famine-ravaged land is difficult to cultivate, but the neighboring territories are prosperous. At that time, she thought, then I'll build a casino modeled after foreign ones. Next, I'll need talent. She saw a boy on the street and thought, a mage, I must have him. Helena Acrax said, confidently, become my subordinate. After raising funds from a casino, I personally recruited talent and built my own organization. I used that power to crack down on corrupt officials. She was imposing back then. Helena earnestly purged the corrupt officials. Then I seized their assets. It wasn't until after my sister left that the conflict between me and the corrupt officials ended. Back then, she declared loudly, from now on, I appoint you as the River Tax Collection Squad. Go and arrest them all. Her subordinates sternly accepted the order. Yes, at that time, she only thought because I don't want to show my ruthless side in front of my sister. She coldly watched the people in prison plead with their families, begging her to at least spare their families. At this moment, she was secretly glad that she had uprooted everything before meeting with Jackal. Helena Acrax silently reminisced about the past. After a while, she said, Your Highness, I know there's an organization called the Tax Bureau under your command. Although it's a tax agency, it's become a mere shell due to His Majesty's obstruction. The emperor entrusted the crown prince with reducing its power, but doesn't allow the agency to function. Outsiders would think Jackal is incompetent, unable to even collect taxes. She calmly continued, "You have no feelings for me, and I feel the same way about you. So I'll give you what I can, as long as you allow me to resign at any time." However, after she finished speaking, Jackal Anthos laughed. He crossed his arms and said, "You seem very confident. Can you prove it?" "I only believe what I see with my own eyes." Helena Acrax readily agreed, of course, then inquired, "Could I begin working at the tax bureau tomorrow?" Jackal Anthos paused. "I'd like to add a few conditions," to which Helena swiftly assented. "All right." He quickly laid out his terms. "I'll give you 3 months. If you haven't produced results within that time frame," Jackal Anthos declared with a hint of amusement, "you'll have to agree to my request." Inwardly, she sighed. Was it a request or a command? "Very well." Helena Acrax conceded softly. Helena Acrax thought to herself, "If I don't want to become this man's lover, nor have my head shaved by the emperor, I'll have to work diligently." A thought suddenly struck her. "Oh, that reminds me. I should return the spica treasure you lent me." Jackal Anthos immediately refused. "No, keep it." Helena Acrax was taken aback. "All right," he explained his reasoning. "The spica heir hasn't been determined yet, so I don't want to keep it." Jackal Anthos spoke slowly. "I have great respect for the late former Marquee." At his words, she frowned, thinking, for a man seemingly devoid of compassion, "This is unexpected." "Your Highness," Helena Acrax inquired, "do you know anything about other treasures?" He responded with suspicion in his voice. "Why do you ask?" Jackal Anthos countered, "It's not that I don't know, but what are you interested in?" She evaded a direct answer. "Oh, I was just curious about other treasures." Observing her deflection, he offered, "Shall I look into it for you?" She replied with a smile, "No, thank you." Inwardly, Helena Acrax mused, "I wonder what kind of favor he'd demand in return." Jackal Anthos was momentarily speechless when she added, "Someone is already helping me, so I'll only accept your kindness another time." Seeing his lack of response, Helena Acrax bowed politely. "Then I'll take my leave." With her departure, the room fell back into its previous quiet. Jackal Anthos remained silent for a long while, simply standing there, gazing in the direction she had gone. Meanwhile, in a certain luxurious castle, a young woman with short hair tiptoed out from behind a half-open door. "Brother," she whispered. Seated in the room was Rain Pollock, lost in thought, seemingly pondering something deeply. Lena offered him a cup of tea. "Have some tea," she said softly. Lena, Pollock acknowledged. He then asked his sister, "Does Duke Acrax have a fiancée?" Lena, startled by the abrupt question, looked surprised. "A fiancée? No, probably not, as far as I know." "Why do you ask?" Pollock hesitated for a moment, the image of Helena Acrax flashing through his mind. A smile played on Pollock's lips. "I think I might try my luck." Indeed. But elsewhere, the subject of his thoughts had already drifted off to sleep. Soon, the bright light of morning dawned. Helena Acrax greeted him cheerfully. "Good morning, Mr. Pollock." Pollock returned the greeting politely. "Yes, good morning." He seemed slightly surprised by her presence. "I wasn't expecting you here." Helena Acrax quickly explained, "Yes, well, I have 3 days of leave starting today. Thank you for accepting my request for a meeting." She thought to herself, Jackal gave me 3 days off before I start at the tax bureau. Perhaps there's something going on there that he's keeping hidden. But that's not a concern for now. Pollock hesitated before asking, "So, the reason for your visit is?" Helena Acrax replied with a smile, "There are a few things I wanted to discuss. Firstly, I'd like to formally make Lena my personal maid." Pollock looked puzzled. "You mean my sister?" "Why, yes," she responded as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "It seems the other servants are unaware of Lena's true identity, aren't they, Lena?" Lena, put on the spot, had little choice but to admit, "Oh, yes." Her expression turned somber. "Because I was cast out of my home." However, Helena Acrax spoke with conviction. "Even if you were cast out, you're still the Marquee's daughter. You're more than qualified to be a maid, and I don't have a personal one yet." Pollock then interjected, "I have no objections if my sister agrees." "But if that's the case," he added thoughtfully, "would the Pollock family then be aligning themselves with the crown?" Helena Acrax quickly corrected him. "No, that's your prerogative. Hasn't the family already cast Lena out? Then it has nothing to do with them." Lena listened intently to her words. "I only asked out of courtesy. Lena is close to you. Hearing this, Pollock sighed in resignation. I know. If my sister likes it, I won't object. But did you come all this way just for this? Helena, cracks, caught off guard, stammered slightly. No, that's not it. Then she finally spoke. I was wondering if you still kept the Pollock's family treasure. He replied instantly, of course it's still here. She immediately followed with a request. Could you show it to me? Pollock's, finding it strange, asked, it's not a problem, but why? Helena, cracks, paused for a moment before saying, it's nothing. She thought to herself, I've been found out to be able to talk to Spica, but I still don't know if I should tell him directly. After all, we've known each other for less than 3 months. Disappointed, she rose to her feet, preparing to leave. I said all I needed to say. I'll be going now. Pollock frowned, puzzled by her expression. Just as she turned to go, he called out, Duke. He stepped closer to Helena, cracks. You said you have no connection to the Crown Prince, but there are rumors in the palace that you two are lovers. Pollock asked sincerely, don't you find that troublesome? His words did give her pause. It's true, I find it unpleasant, but I've heard Jackal talk about it to the point of exhaustion. It's too late to turn back now. I should have run away before the Emperor killed me. Pollock then offered, if you need help, just let me know. Helena, cracks, asked blankly why. Pollock's reasoning was compelling. Because you're my sister's employer. Blushing slightly, he tried to finish his sentence. So, I want to make a good impression on you. That's only natural, right? Time flew by, and soon was the next day. Helena, cracks, looked up at the luxurious building before her. So this is the tax bureau. Through the windows, she could see several figures standing within. They were all watching her intently. Soon, someone came to greet her. Duke Helena, cracks, please come in. The man seated in the chair introduced himself. I am Cayman Lysar, general manager of the tax bureau. Then the long-haired man beside him spoke. This is Dan, the deputy manager. She listened carefully as Cayman spoke. I heard the Crown Prince said you were here to assist with our work. Is that right? But then he let out a scornful chuckle. But what can you do? Coming here like this is useless. We don't need a duke's help. Looking at his punchable face, Helena, cracks, thought angrily, what? This guy seems incredibly arrogant. Then she remembered Jackal's words. This won't be easy, Duke. I'm rooting for you. Cayman Lysar continued. Our tax bureau is already perfectly functional. Adding more personnel won't help at all. You'll only be a hindrance. Besides, you're so young. You probably can't do anything useful. She remained silent, listening to him speak. Seeing this, he pressed his advantage. So, just leave the tax bureau to us, or you can go have some tea. He continued, smiling. I was even planning on introducing my daughter to you. Meanwhile, she thought, this guy is definitely the Emperor's man. He seems to know nothing about politics. Without hesitation, she asked, Mr. Cayman, what is your title? He replied, somewhat surprised, I am an earl. She pressed further, to whom do you pledge your allegiance? His Majesty. And to whom does this tax bureau belong? The Crown Prince. Finally, he couldn't contain his anger and exclaimed, Duke, these questions. But before he could finish, she cut him off. That's right, I am a duke. Since when did the Empire become so casual about etiquette? Am I your friend? Cayman was suddenly speechless, choked by her words. He chuckled, trying to lighten the mood. It's not like that, Duke. You're still young, as a general manager, compared to your predecessors. Helena, cracks, anticipating his point, cut him off. The Crown Prince is even younger than you, isn't he? She asked icily. Would you treat him this way as well? Cayman gritted his teeth, stung by her words, but found himself unable to retort. Helena, cracks, crossed her arms, her expression cold. Based on your attitude towards me today, I already have a good idea of how this tax bureau operates. I'll be watching very closely. Before leaving, she issued a command. Gather all the documents from the past 5 years up to the present and deliver them to me. Dan witnessed the exchange, but remained silent. Once Helena was gone, Cayman finally exploded. That arrogant little brat. Helena, back in her own space, sighed wearily. What a mess, she muttered. Turning, she called out, hey, make some tea. Her mind raced. Compared to my previous territory, this is nothing. First, I need to gather information. Lost in thought, Helena, cracks, was startled by the sudden appearance of Jackal Anthos. What are you doing? He asked. What do you think of this place? She stared, momentarily stunned, almost as if she saw a halo shimmering at his feet. Jackal Anthos smiled, his presence seeming to brighten the entire room. Can you handle it? He asked. A flicker of panic ran through her. Jackal, Rhodamine, a name appearing for the first time, suggesting a previous introduction, and Lena were all smiling. Just looking at his face, Helena blurted out, Why are you here? The crown prince brought a hand to his cheek, feigning thought. Let me see. He suddenly took a step closer. Leaning in towards Helena, he murmured, Because I feel empty without you. Helena was thoroughly unimpressed by the crown prince's theatrics. Don't joke around, she snapped, then demanded, her voice serious. I'm being serious. Why are you here? Just a few minutes prior, the crown prince had gone to the office, but Helena hadn't been there. When the crown prince didn't immediately respond, Helena wondered, is it because he doesn't trust me? But then Jackal answered, I simply can't bear to go a day without seeing you. He finished with his usual disarming smile. Helena naturally didn't believe him. You don't expect me to believe that, do you? She said, glaring at him. Amused by her expression, the crown prince chuckled again. I'm telling the truth. Don't you believe me? Helena pressed, No, I don't. Finally, the crown prince dropped the act. Where are you going? He asked. I'm going to examine the documents I asked the general manager to retrieve, Helena replied. It will take quite some time, so I'm going to get started. No one's eyes are as sharp as mine. Somehow, the crown prince, now looking like a knight, began to follow her. Helena, also having changed clothes, frowned and turned to him. Why are you following me? The crown prince seemed to have undergone another transformation, his red hair now black. He grinned. Let me think. Perhaps because it'll be entertaining. Helena, noticing his attire, asked, What are you wearing? The crown prince gestured vaguely. This. I got it over there. As they spoke, Helena suddenly heard footsteps and spun around. A man approached, waving cheerfully. Are you the new recruit who arrived today? You just getting here now? He suddenly burst into laughter. Seems the servants weren't very thorough with their directions. You're 5 minutes late. Helena, quickly recovering, responded calmly, My apologies. The layout here is rather complex. The man chuckled again. Don't worry, everyone gets lost at first. The two of them chatted amiably, while the crown prince remained silent. After a few minutes of conversation, the man decided to lead them to their workstations. He brought them to the office, and upon arrival, their supervisor clapped his hands to get everyone's attention. We have some new recruits joining our office today, he announced. Helena, fully committed to her role, stepped forward with a smile. Hello everyone, my name is Lena. The name Lena was borrowed from Lena Pollock's. Before coming here, Helena had already thought it through and informed Lena. The girl had asked, surprised, Truly, your grace will use my name to manage subordinates. Helena had replied, Yes, if I use my noble status, it won't be difficult to get in, and it seems they are recruiting many new people. Frowning in thought, she mused, they're short-staffed, so they're recruiting more people. If this were the modern era, this would really be. Snapping back to the present, Helena offered a friendly smile. I hope everyone will take care of me. Everyone in the office began to introduce themselves. A girl with white hair stepped forward. Nice to meet you. I'm Sally, she said. A red-haired boy shyly added, I'm Kobe. With the introductions complete and the newcomers settling in, the man introduced himself as well. I'm Bruno, the manager of this office. I'm a level 1 tax specialist in the first department. After the pleasantries, Bruno moved on to assigning tasks. Although you've just joined, he began politely, I'm truly sorry, but could you come with me? Bruno led Helena to a library, a particularly chaotic one. This is the document storage room, he explained with an awkward chuckle. As you can see, the documents are placed rather haphazardly. Let's organize them by year. You only need to sort through the last 10 years' worth. Helena, facing this unexpected initiation, froze. And as if that wasn't enough, Bruno added, There's a servant here, so I can rest assured. But if possible, please try to complete this independently. There are important documents here as well. Jackal simply smiled. Bruno, placing his trust in Helena, continued, just organize the documents and place them on the table. The higher-ups will know what to do with them. Well then, good luck. With a parting wink, Bruno left her to the task. Left alone to face the monumental mess, Helena wore an expression of utter bewilderment. She asked herself, is this mountain of files what he was talking about? Well, it's not bad to examine them directly, although I wouldn't mind a stroll. With no one else seemingly around, Jackal suddenly leaned in close to Helena's ear and whispered, Have you found anything useful? Helena jumped, startled by the crown prince's sudden appearance. You scared me, she exclaimed. Have you been here the whole time? Jackal retorted, You're pretending not to know. You knew I was here all along. Helena quickly shot back. That's rich coming from you. Then why didn't you leave? Jackal offered no reply, instead preparing to repeat his earlier tactic. He slid his hands slowly across the table towards her, leaning closer before delivering a blatant flirtation. Because I wanted a clandestine rendezvous with you. Do you enjoy these secret meetings, Duchess? Jackal's unexpected words finally flustered Helena. Helena, her cheeks flushing as she stared at him, speechless. Still flustered, Helena managed a shy, "You're joking again." Jackal pressed, his voice firm. "What if I told you I wasn't?" He continued, his composure unwavering. "Am I truly so unappealing to you?" Standing within Jackal's close proximity, Helena couldn't help but feel a surge of nervous energy. Suddenly, he reached out and undid her hair ribbon. "You asked about the treasure before," he said. Helena had indeed inquired about other treasures, but at the time, Jackal hadn't shown them to her. Now, his sudden return to the topic surely meant he intended to reveal something. "Who were you planning to ask?" he questioned. Helena was taken aback by the question. She thought to herself, what could it be? Obsession. Jackal is obsessed with treasure. Could it be? Such a casual question had already exhilarated him. Seeing her silence, the Crown Prince, Jackal Anthos, continued, "Duke of Cracks, I believe you are one of my people. Although our acquaintance is brief, that is of little consequence. You need only focus on what you deem important. I expect you to hide nothing from me." He gently drew her into an embrace. Helena's expression was strained, a tension Jackal readily perceived. "I'm curious," he remarked, "if you can win this wager." The word wager left Helena bewildered. Before she could inquire, Jackal leaned closer. "I also hope you lose," he murmured, "and become my lover." Immediately recognizing the provocation, Helena pushed him away. "That's impossible," she retorted. Without another word, she turned abruptly and buried herself in the task before her. Jackal paused, watching her turn away. Then, with a sudden flourish, he conjured a dark spell, pulling Helena close. He said nothing, but in his mind, he kissed her. It all went perfectly, but only in the theater of his mind. In reality, no kiss was stolen. A week later, in the same building, Helena had completed half of her first assigned task. The room was gradually becoming organized. The 5-year milestone had been reached. The week had flown by unexpectedly. Helena only needed to focus on her work. Everything else was taken care of by the Crown Prince. And so, for a full week, she sorted documents. In return, she received something during her lunch breaks. She would go to lunch and sit with everyone, chatting amiably. The conversations were lively, especially with Sally, who exclaimed, "What else is there to say? The nobles are the most troublesome lot." After a week of work and observation, Helena learned that this place received tax-related questions and complaints. The aides sent in place of the nobles were equally troublesome, and the occasional noble who appeared in person was even more of a headache. Helena also overheard Sally and Kobe complaining. "But we have to watch the general manager's Langthra expression/mood," Kobe sighed. "Even if some high-ranking noble comes, the general manager has to bow his head." Piecing together these snippets, Helena concluded that even the imperial palace, under the emperor's rule, was riddled with corruption. Suddenly, a knock echoed from outside. "Lena," Sally called, "are you there?" "Got a minute." Opening the door, Helena was immediately handed a new stack of documents. "I need a favor," Sally said with a smile. "It's peak season, so we're short-handed." Helena stared blankly at the stack, while Jackal Anthos watched her intently. "Please go to Earl Caban's place," Sally explained quickly. "He's short on his taxes. Just tell him that. It's all up to you." With that, Sally teleported away, leaving Helena standing there in dismay. With no other choice, she made her way to Earl Caban's mansion, a truly magnificent estate. "How did things turn out like this?" Helena grumbled as she walked. Jackal spoke up. "Do you know Earl Caban?" "I do," Helena replied. "They're a noble family from the northwest." Despite her noble upbringing, Helena worried about her ability to speak appropriately, and it proved to be a valid concern. As soon as she raised the issue, Earl Caban immediately denied it. "I haven't missed any tax payments. You made a mistake." Faced with such a powerful figure, Helena dared not act rashly. She sat quietly, listening as he continued. "Do you know how much hardship I've faced this year due to a poor harvest?" Even as she listened, Helena knew he was lying. How could the Caban territory possibly have a poor harvest? Since it was her job, Helena offered a dazzling smile. "Oh, but didn't this territory avoid the floods and even have a bountiful harvest?" Duke Caban stared, stunned, after she spoke. He thought, how could this little slip of a girl know that the Northwest Territory is isolated by steep mountains and news travels incredibly slowly? "It's because of this loophole that I've been able to get away with not paying taxes." But Helena wasn't letting him off the hook. Her bright smile remained fixed as she continued. "Are you curious how I know? Our general manager, Cayman, is quite capable." A flicker of worry crossed Duke Caban's face. Helena pressed her advantage, adding with a touch of pride, and the crown prince, Jackal, knows everything. Duke Caban was speechless, his jaw tight with anger. Then, with astonishing audacity, he declared, "Regardless, I have no taxes to pay." With that, he had Helena and the crown prince thrown out. Once outside, Helena didn't rush away. She stood in quiet contemplation. Sally's words echoed in her mind. "Just go and come back. Don't pay attention to anything you hear." If she'd said that, she must have known what was going on. Helena finally understood the problem. This last visit was just for show. No wonder the corruption was getting worse. This is a common occurrence for people who frequent our house. After a moment of thought, everything clicked into place for Helena. Clicking her tongue in disapproval, she turned to leave. Before leaving the Caban estate entirely, Helena and the crown prince paused at the main gate. Crown Prince Jackal spoke first. "What should we do?" Helena replied, her voice laced with frustration. "If I were in better health, maybe I could steal the ledger. I could also use my real identity to seize it, but I'm just a novice now. I don't have any authority anymore." Her frustration grew with each word. "Even though it's right in front of me, I can't do anything." Seeing Helena's anger, the crown prince chuckled, clearly amused. He placed a hand lightly on her shoulder. "Then let's steal it. You possess the strongest sword, even in the guise of a servant." The crown prince's thinking was certainly unique. It was something Helena had never considered. A question mark seemed to appear above her head as soon as she heard his suggestion. But for now, it was the only option. So, Helena and the crown prince stealthily infiltrated the Caban estate once more. Helena felt uneasy, but she followed the crown prince, wondering how things had come to this. Contrary to her apprehension, the crown prince seemed thrilled with the mission, pulling her along with an almost childlike glee. Helena finally couldn't contain her curiosity. "What are you doing?" The crown prince, a mischievous glint in his eye, shushed her playfully. "Isn't this fun?" he whispered. With that, Jackal and Helena turned to observe the people within the estate. Whether intentionally or not, the crown prince suddenly reached out, pulling Helena closer and into his embrace. Caught off guard, Helena had no time to react and found herself standing within the circle of his arms. Helena and the crown prince moved slowly, taking cover behind a door as the crown prince carefully observed the movements of the servants within the estate. But Helena couldn't focus on the task at hand. She stood stiffly within the crown prince's embrace. After a period of observation, the crown prince spoke. "It's clear now." Waiting for those words, Helena immediately pushed him away. Immediately, Helena summoned a Krax. "I have an important mission. Can you transform into a weapon?" Akrax's voice was filled with concern. "Master, you'll collapse if you do this. You don't have the aptitude for weapons. I've observed it. Is it necessary to be so reckless?" Hearing Akrax's words, Helena turned to question the crown prince. "Are you really going to steal it?" Facing Helena's question, the crown prince calmly replied, "Of course." He continued, a smile playing on his lips. "Are you scared? Let's go back." Helena's blood boiled at the words. She wouldn't let her pride be wounded. In a surprising move, she grabbed the crown prince's hand. Pulling him along, she declared, "Let's go." Who said I was giving up? It was likely the first time the crown prince, Jackal, had ever been led by Helena's hand. His heart leaped, but perhaps due to nerves, Helena took a wrong turn. Jackal gently corrected her. "Duke, it's the other way." Helena froze, then followed his lead. After only a short distance, Helena was already breathless, leaning against the wall to catch her breath. She wondered how many more trials she would have to endure with Jackal. The constant hiding, running, and changing of clothes. Seeing her pale face, Spica asked with concern, "Are you all right, human?" Jackal and Helena had changed into yet another set of clothes. Exhausted, Helena asked Jackal, "Can we really find it like this?" He was silent for a moment, then asked, "Where do nobles usually keep their documents?" "Perhaps in a safe or a treasure chest," Helena replied. But Jackal had a different idea. "But Earl Caban likes to hide things in plain sight, so he usually keeps them in his study." "Or a regular storage room," Helena added. "So you mean we should check the study and the storage room, right?" With that, they continued their plan. On their way to where the ledger was supposedly hidden, Helena glanced at Jackal, thinking, how does he know Earl Caban so well? He's a frightening man. After a while, they reached the Earl's study. They approached quickly. A servant was cleaning. Helena waved a hand dismissively and began searching the bookshelves for a safe. Her fingers brushed against an oddly placed book. She quickly pulled it out. A hidden door swung open. "This is how nobles usually hide things," Helena said with a hint of amusement. A safe was revealed. She was familiar with such things, having cracked open her fair share of safes belonging to corrupt officials. But Helena didn't search the safe. She turned her gaze elsewhere. "Didn't you say the Earl hides things in plain sight? Isn't that it right there?" She was looking at a wooden cabinet. Jackal quickly went over to investigate, but it was locked. However, this didn't deter him. He immediately produced a lockpick. With practiced ease, Jackal picked the lock. Within minutes, the cabinet was open. Helena stared at him in disbelief. "How does the Crown Prince know how to do that?" she asked, bewildered. Jackal grinned. "I used to pick His Majesty's safe when I was a child," he explained. Just like that, they had the ledger. "Now that we have the ledger, let's go to the warehouse." They continued on, searching for the way to the warehouse. The area was heavily guarded. Helena and Jackal hid behind a wall. Suddenly, 2 more guards appeared. They approached the 2 guards already on duty, and then all 4 of them left. This was their chance. Helena and Jackal quickly slipped into the warehouse. Once inside, Helena finally dared to breathe a sigh of relief. Why was it so easy to get in? Should we be more careful? She wondered. Jackal seemed to share her concern. "It seems the forces behind this are quite powerful," he murmured. Just as they thought everything was going smoothly, a sound came from the doorway. The door opened. A knight, carrying a valuable-looking item, slowly walked in. "Why did the Earl suddenly ask us to move this?" he asked. Another man replied, "How would I know? The maid will be here shortly." At the moment of crisis, Crown Prince Jackal scooped Helena into his arms and swiftly retreated behind cover. In the process, they overheard a snippet of conversation. Helena thought, "So it's a mage. That explains the lax security. Not a safe, but magic used within the house itself. So much wealth, and yet they don't pay taxes." The knight quickly deposited the item and departed. The moment he was gone, a crack started out. The small bird chirped to its mistress, reporting that this was indeed the treasure, and that a crack's brethren were nearby. Learning this from a crack's, Helena grew even more perplexed. Why would the treasure be here? Earl Caban had no connection to the Zodiac treasures. Helena, bewildered, looked to the Crown Prince, seeking understanding in his expression. Helena sighed. Regardless, she had to tell Jackal. The fact that someone could recognize the treasure was significant. "Your Highness," she said quickly, "the item they just brought in, it seems to be a treasure." Jackal's expression shifted, a flicker of surprise crossing his features. "Do you know which family it belongs to?" he asked immediately. A crack's chirped instantly. "David. David is the guardian of Capricorn." Helena relayed the information. "It seems to belong to David." The name didn't seem to surprise Jackal in the slightest. "Ah, it would be," he replied. "Baron David returned to his territory about a month ago, claiming illness. Though he was a man who enjoyed his pleasures," Jackal continued, "there's been no word from him since. He must be dead by now. They're after the treasures." Another one falls after Marquee Spica. The casual mention of Marquee Spica seemed to wound a certain Spica, whose expression darkened. Helena quickly comforted Spica, then continued her questioning. "How can you be so certain he's dead?" "Because if he were alive, he would have contacted me," Jackal answered without hesitation. "Baron David was one of my men," he continued, his voice hardening. "Of those who possess the treasures, those on my side are all dead." A similar incident had occurred with Marquee Spica. Helena was stunned by this revelation. The original story had painted Jackal as the killer of the treasure holders, but it was the Emperor all along. Jackal, ever vigilant, kept an eye on their surroundings as he spoke. Once the 2 men were further away, he gestured for her to rise. Helena stood, asking, "Do you think the killer is the same one who murdered Marquee Spica?" At Helena's question, Jackal paused, then turned to face her before answering. "Why wouldn't it be? This is a competition." Helena listened quietly as he spoke. Jackal walked towards the treasure. "Regardless of Baron David's fate," he said, "let's retrieve what we need." Helena understood his intent. He meant to steal something else, and his target was the object proudly displayed on the table. Jackal swiftly grabbed the treasure, preparing to leave. But at that moment, the unexpected happened. A scream pierced the air, echoing through the mansion. The scream alerted Duke Caban. Guards rushed into the warehouse to investigate, leaving the pair with no time to hide. Even so, Jackal remained unfazed. He coolly regarded the approaching guards, then moved towards them. Before the guards could react, Jackal struck with lightning speed. Both men crumpled to the floor in a neat heap. With the treasure in hand, Jackal and Helena made their escape, retracing their steps out of the estate. Having flawlessly pilfered the two items, Helena and Crown Prince Jackal retreated back to the mansion's main hall, their plans seemingly complete. Helena resumed her charade as the diligent maid, sweeping the floor with practiced indifference. She ignored the guards, frantically searching for the source of the earlier commotion, her broom a convenient prop in her performance. The guards, their suspicions unaroused, passed her by without a second glance. Only after they were gone did Akerks and Spicadere to peek out from their hiding place. Rewinding a few minutes, Helena and the Crown Prince had formulated their escape plan. "I'll create a diversion," Jackal stated firmly. "We'll meet outside." Helena, a flicker of doubt in her eyes, questioned a diversion. Jackal's response was impulsive, a touch too candid. "Your Grace," he blurted, "aren't you a little underpowered?" Though devoid of malice, his words stung Helena's pride. Yet, with no other viable option, she reluctantly agreed to his plan. A prickle of annoyance lingered as she recalled the exchange, but she quickly composed herself. "Don't fret," she thought, her mind refocusing. "Concentrate on the task at hand." Meanwhile, Jackal was leading the guards on a merry chase, their pursuit proving futile against his agility. Helena's task, initially perceived as straightforward, was proving to be anything but. Entrusted with the treasure, she was tasked with smuggling it out while Jackal drew the guards' attention. Quickly assessing the situation, Helena strategized. "This is the farthest point in the mansion," she mused. "I must remain as quiet as possible." Just as she believed her ordeal was nearing its end, a group of figures materialized before her, blocking her path. "Everyone hold," a guard bellowed. "No one leaves without being searched." The announcement sent a wave of apprehension through Helena. She swiftly turned, seeking an alternate route, but after only a few steps, she collided with a young man. Both lost their balance and tumbled to the ground. "Are you hurt?" the young man asked anxiously. The moment Helena heard his voice, recognition sparked. It was Rain Pollock's. His presence here astonished her. Rewinding 30 minutes prior to the incident, Duke Caban was greeting a distinguished guest, the young Marquee Pollocks. "How is your father?" Caban inquired warmly. "I'll be needing your assistance in the future. I prepared a gift. I assure you, you won't be disappointed." Rain Pollock's response was perfunctory. "I'll convey your regards to my father." His expression was strained, his presence here an obligation imposed by his father. He held no fondness for the Duke. Though his family also sided with the Emperor, Rain couldn't fathom his father's reasoning. Unwilling to endure Caban's company any longer, Rain rose abruptly. "Is that all?" he asked curtly. "If so, I'll be taking my leave." The Duke, however, wasn't finished. "A wise decision, abandoning that twin sister of yours," he remarked. "Such a pity, isn't it? If twins are born into the Pollock's family, one must die." Rain glared at the corpulent Duke, fury simmering beneath his composed facade. He refused to rise to the bait, turning to leave. Caban, observing his impassive expression, sighed in disappointment. "What a wretched day," he muttered. "That damn tax office." The mention of the tax office momentarily arrested Rain's departure. "The Crown Prince has been quite diligent lately," Caban continued, "finding enlightenment because of a woman. Preposterous. What could a mere girl possibly understand?" Rain, recognizing the veiled reference to Helena, could contain himself no longer. His hand flashed to his sword, the blade now pressed against Caban's throat. "Choose your words carefully," he warned, his voice dangerously low. "Don't forget I am a knight." Caban paled, fear etched upon his features. As Rain turned to leave, the Duke stammered, "Just a jest. I quite forgot you were such a righteous knight." Rain hurried towards the main hall, his heart pounding uncontrollably. He couldn't understand why he felt so agitated at the thought of Duke Caban being cursed. But Rain didn't dwell on it. He just wanted to leave the estate as quickly as possible. Just then, a girl bumped into him unexpectedly. Rain, caught off guard, lost his balance, leading to the unfortunate scene that had just unfolded. He hastily inquired after the girl, but as she looked up, Rain instantly recognized her as Helena. Both were utterly surprised to see each other there at that moment. Just then, a knight passed by and immediately asked Marquee what happened. I heard a loud noise. Hearing someone speak, Helena immediately felt the pressure mount. Seeing her unease, Rain took a deep breath, deciding to cover for her. It's nothing, Rain told the knight. You don't need to come over here. After the knight left, Rain Pollock quickly placed his hand on Helena's shoulder. He asked with concern, "What's wrong?" At Rain's question, Helena looked at him anxiously and blurted out, "Righteous knight." But just a second later, Helena's expression shifted. She offered Rain a smile and an explanation. Haha, I've been assigned to manage the tax office, and for certain reasons, I had to come here to investigate. Rain Pollock, slowly realizing something, asked, "Are you the administrator assigned here?" Helena immediately replied, "Yes, although my attire is a bit strange, I was just curious why he didn't want to pay taxes." Hearing this, Rain said worriedly, "Why would you do something so dangerous?" Helena replied confidently, "I'm a master of cracks. What's dangerous about it?" Rain Pollock sighed in exasperation. "I know, that's not what I meant." Rain Pollock's words puzzled Helena. She hadn't expected him to reveal the secret of the artifact. Then Rain Pollock stood up and extended a hand to Helena. "Let's go if you'll allow me." Without waiting for Helena's consent, Rain presumptuously put his arm around her. He then hoisted Helena onto his shoulder and continued on his way. Helena was somewhat bewildered by this mode of transport. She struggled and questioned Rain, "What are you doing?" But no matter what she said, Rain ignored her and didn't answer. The next afternoon at the office, Helena had returned safely without incident, but she didn't see Jackal, which worried her. Helena took out the artifact she and the Crown Prince had stolen. Seeing its silence, Helena asked curiously, "Why isn't he saying anything?" Akrax replied, "He might be sleeping." A day passed, and Helena still hadn't seen the Crown Prince. She waited all night. Until the next day, Helena continued to ponder, deeply puzzled by one question. If Jackal truly wasn't killing the artifact owners like in the original story, then why was the Emperor killing them? Was it to prevent anyone from siding with Jackal? No, persuasion could also be used. Unable to find the right answer, Helena thought of seeking help. Actually, I can think of one artifact owner, someone I can ask. The person she had in mind was Rain. The day before, Rain had helped her escape safely. His method had involved scaling a wall. But regardless, Helena was still grateful to him. However, in the next moment, Helena said, "But I'm sorry, I'm a little breathless." She said shyly, "That carrying position made me question whether I was a lady or not." Hearing this, Rain Pollock quickly explained, "That's because I was in a hurry. Besides, if I held you normally, wouldn't we have been staring into each other's eyes?" Just uttering those words caused Rain's face to flush crimson. Just as Helena was lost in thought, a familiar voice rang out, "What are you thinking about?" "Thinking about me." With such confidence, it could be no one other than Crown Prince Jackal, finally coming to see her. The prince's voice startled Helena, and she spun around. "When did you get here?" she demanded. He strolled towards her. "A little while ago," he replied. One moment, everything was normal. The next, he was launching into a theatrical display of woe. Oh, the sorrow. The Duke wouldn't even give me the time of day. Helena found the charade ridiculous. Dropping the act as quickly as he'd adopted it, he asked, "Did you escape Caban's place easily?" Helena's response was immediate. "Someone helped me." At this, the prince's composure faltered. He took a step closer. "Yes, dealing with those guards without any preparation would have been difficult. So who helped you?" "This is the first I'm hearing of it." Helena suddenly fell silent. Seeing the shift in her expression, he pressed, "I hope you're not hiding anything from me." Helena quickly spoke, as if the words had been dammed behind her lips. "It was Mr. Pollock's. I wasn't going to hide it from you. You just didn't give me a chance to say." The name sparked a flicker of suspicion in Jackal's eyes. "Mr. Pollock's?" he echoed. "You mean Rain Pollock's, the current owner of the Pollock's artifact." The revelation that a man had aided her escape gave the prince pause. "What's your relationship with him?" he inquired. "There shouldn't be any reason for you two to meet." Guilt tinged Helena's voice. "It was just a coincidence." Jackal's gaze sharpened. "That strange maid," he continued, his mind clearly working, "was she brought by the Duke? Could she be related to the young lady who was expelled from the Pollock's family?" Jackal's intuition was unervingly sharp. Helena was taken aback. Is he feigning ignorance? She wondered. Another detail struck her then. Wait, they're twins. I thought they were just ordinary brothers. She dismissed the thought as quickly as it came. eager to change the subject. Producing the artifact, she offered it to the prince. Your Highness, I don't think that's very important. Here is Baron David's artifact. Helena presented the artifact, but Jackal waved it away. It's fine, he said dismissively. Keep it. I think it's more interesting for it to stay with you. With that, he turned to leave. I'm busy, so I'll be going. I just came to see if you were all right. His abrupt departure and cryptic words left Helena bewildered. What is he playing at? Uncertainty gnawed at her. Before he could exit the room, she called out, Wait, are you really giving it to me? He answered her question with another. When have I ever lied to you? Jackal's words gave Helena the confirmation she needed, but confusion lingered. But isn't the male lead supposed to want the artifacts? This is so strange. Driven by the need to understand, she pressed further before he could fully escape. Your Highness, let me ask you something. What do you want power for? The question seemed to surprise him. He paused, then answered, perhaps to defeat my father. And because of the curse. The word curse was entirely new, something not present in the original story. Helena's suspicion deepened. Let me ask one last question, Helena persisted. Are you planning to steal my family's artifact? Jackal laughed. How amusing. Isn't your question pointless? What would you possibly do if I said yes? His amusement faded, replaced by a strange sincerity. Well, I did consider it, but now I want you more. So I want you to stay by my side. It sounds a bit crazy, but lately I've even had thoughts of imprisoning you. Please think of me fondly today as you work. With a wink, he finally departed, leaving Helena standing there, speechless. She made no move to stop him. He left the room and walked out into the main hall. After leaving the room, the crown prince, Jackal, didn't depart immediately. He paused, considering how different Rain Pollock was from his own father, a staunch supporter of the emperor. Rain was a man of unwavering integrity. At that moment, Jackal suddenly recalled something Helena had said earlier. His expression darkened, his gaze sharpening. Meanwhile, in Duke Caban's private chambers, ever since the day the two of them had left, the Duke had been in a state of unease. Trembling, he thought, it's over. I'll let the thieves escape. His Majesty will find out soon enough, so I can't hide it for long. If I'm caught, I'm dead. I have to think of something. Old Caban racked his brains, and the image of Helena suddenly flashed into his mind. He devised a most despicable plan. I just need to shift the blame onto that subordinate. The scene shifted back to the tax office, Helena's workplace. She was still in her office looking over documents when a young man suddenly appeared. Even so, Helena didn't suspect anything because the young man was Rodmine. When Rodmine removed his glasses, his familiar face was instantly revealed. 4 days had passed since Jackal had returned the David artifact to Helena. In that time, she had fully adjusted to her work at the tax office. Helena still encountered some difficult dukes, but she had her ways of dealing with them. Once, when a duke refused to pay his taxes and lay on the ground pleading, Helena promptly produced a small knife, saying, "This is my first time cutting someone open, so I might be a bit clumsy. Please forgive me." Thanks to her quick wit, Helena quickly grasped the underlying issues at the tax office. As soon as Rodmine arrived, Helena inquired about the matter. "How is the investigation going?" Rodmine produced a document and replied, as expected, "I've traced General Manager Come-On's embezzlement trail. He intends to take a huge bribe and flee. My investigation revealed that he's had close ties with the Emperor for 3 years. It seems he was once the Crown Prince's man, but decided to betray him. With the Crown Prince's wisdom and insight, Helena thought, there's no way Jackal wouldn't know about this. Then Helena continued, Rodmine, Come-On's embezzlement as a general manager isn't surprising. The important thing is to resolve the tax evasion issue, because only then can I win the bet with the Crown Prince. Rodmine agreed with Helena's point of view, and then he continued his report about the man named Den. Come-On's deputy manager, he was a mage. On his way here, Rodmine had happened to run into him. He seems to be an unregistered mage. Helena was quite surprised by this crucial piece of information. She said, a mage concealing his identity. If discovered, the royal family won't let him off the hook. Rodmine continued, he probably thinks he won't be found out, since he's deliberately hiding, unlike me, who's easily recognized. Rodmine was a clear example. He was also a mage. Mages weren't exactly a common occurrence. Helena pondered for a moment, then said, Rodmine, come with me. I've thought of a good way to win this bet. The scene shifted to the tax office's main hall. Helena's target was here, Den, the anonymous mage. Din walked along, replaying a conversation he'd had with Come On. Come On had handed Din a stack of documents, ordering, find the weaknesses. Din wearily accepted the pile, but you've already made so much money. Din had barely asked a few questions before Come On had snapped. Don't argue. Don't forget, I hold someone's life in my hands. And don't even think about going to the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince will die sooner or later. Remembering those threats, Din sighed resignedly. There was nothing left to do but commit the crime, though he didn't want to. To become a mage, he had to spend at least 3 years in a magical city. But an unexpected incident had trapped Din in his current predicament. Din had a wife who was gravely ill. Once, while old Come On was making his rounds, he discovered Din using magic. The thought filled Din with regret. Just then, Helena appeared, calling out from a distance, "Deputy Manager Din, is it?" She asked with a smile, "Could I have a word with you?" Din was unaware of Helena's changed status, so he was taken aback when he saw her in this form. Isn't that the Duke of Akrax? He wondered. Why is she dressed as a subordinate? Unsure of Helena's intentions, Din made an excuse to decline. "I apologize, but I have a pressing matter to attend to, so I cannot speak with you right now. Please, speak freely, Your Grace. Now, if you'll excuse me." With that, Din quickly took his leave. But Helena wasn't one to let someone slip away easily. Before Din could escape, Helena called out to him, using the word mage. Hearing that word, Din panicked, whirling around in alarm. Helena looked at Din and said, "Now, perhaps you'd like to talk." Before seeking out Din, Helena had Roadmine spread information about everything that had transpired recently. Deputy Manager Din used magic to unearth the noble's weaknesses. Come On used that information to threaten nobles aligned with the Crown Prince, helping those loyal to the Emperor evade taxes. Come On was an accomplice. Though the investigation had been thorough, some details remained unclear to Roadmine. The scene shifted to the storage room within the tax office, where Helena had brought Din to speak. Din immediately asked, "So what do you want to say?" Unable to meet Helena's gaze, Din nervously asked, "If there's nothing else, may I leave?" Helena hadn't summoned Din for nothing. She got straight to the point. "Do you know how much tax revenue you've helped embezzle?" Guilt nodded Din, but he remained steadfast in his denial. "I don't know what you're talking about." Helena had, of course, anticipated this response. Din lost his composure. "You suddenly bring me here, casually accuse me of being a mage. Suspecting someone can also be a crime." Challenged by Din, Helena remained calm. She asked again, "Have you ever thought about betraying Come On?" Helena's question startled Din once more. She continued, "After thoroughly reviewing the accusations against you, I can clearly see that you didn't want to be involved in those matters. If you can use magic, you could have done far more terrible things, but you didn't. I understand. Your ailing wife is being held hostage. You have no choice." The information Helena spoke was precise, hitting the mark perfectly. Fear gripped Din, understanding his state of mind. Helena immediately made an offer. "If I save your wife, will you cooperate?" Din was still reeling from the revelation. He thought for a moment before replying, "I don't know how you know all this, but I refuse. My wife has an incurable disease. She's only alive now because of vast sums of money. If I can't take responsibility for her for the rest of her life, I'll ignore it. If I have to pay the price for those crimes, I accept it." Hearing Din's words, Helena realized his wife's illness was a truly intractable one. Just then, Spica and Akrax appeared. Spica immediately whispered something in Helena's ear. "Aftavat, Helena atrasitin. If I can cure that illness, will you cooperate?" Before the conversation could conclude, the sound of approaching footsteps echoed from outside. Helena and Din both reacted swiftly, sensing the intrusion. Roadmine appeared seemingly out of nowhere. "Your Grace," he said, "knights are heading this way. I'll help you hide." With no time to spare, Roadmine quickly used magic to aid Din. He became invisible. Immediately afterward, knights burst through the door. "Subordinate Lena," they declared, "you're under arrest for theft." The knights swiftly apprehended Helena and escorted her away. Though framed for theft, Helena showed no fear. Shortly before, Duke Caban's knights had located Bruno and informed him of the accusations against Helena, declaring their intent to escort the supposed criminal away. Thus, the knights swiftly escorted Helena away. Sharp-witted, she noticed they were leading her to a secluded area. She overheard a brief exchange between two knights. "We're just taking her like this, right?" That's what the Count said. "I don't know much more." Observing their attire and recalling their words, Helena thought, the Count, but why are they royal knights? Those look like the Caban family insignia. From these few clues, Helena deduced the truth. Count Caban was behind this. It's suspicious how they're dragging me off without identifying themselves. I've seen these knights before. They're the Count's men. It seems they're posing as royal knights to arrest me. With Rodmine not around, it's too dangerous to be taken by them. Helena immediately summoned her 2 war gods, Akrax, Kulme. Hearing the command, Akrax instantly lent Helena his strength. Empowered, Helena swiftly countered the knights, but she lacked the strength to overcome them all. Seizing an opening, she desperately fled, the knights hot on her heels. Helena hoped to stall for time until Rodmine arrived, but Akrax revealed a harsh truth. Her current body couldn't maintain this power for long. She had to escape quickly. She ran to the right. Unfortunately, it was a dead end. Helena sighed in frustration. She still had work to do in this identity. If she caused a commotion and exposed herself, her wager with Jackal would be jeopardized. Before Helena could devise an escape plan, Akrax's power faded. Speechless, Helena thought it ran out that quickly. Without aid, she was on her own. Just then, the divine artifact, David, in her pocket spoke. Need my help. Without waiting for Helena's consent, David acted. Suddenly, a massive stone wall materialized, blocking Helena's path. She whirled around in astonishment, wondering what had happened. Her gaze darkened as she silently assessed the situation. If it wasn't a mage, then it could only be them. Knights were on the other side of the wall as well. She watched them, calculating. Regardless, they're stopping the other knights, so I need to find a way out. But as she looked back at the dead end, Helena paused. The problem is, even if I get over this wall, there's nowhere to go. I am truly trapped. Suddenly, something made her eyes widen in surprise. In the distance, behind the knights, someone was rushing towards them at lightning speed. It was Jackal. Helena was stunned. What's he doing here? Seeing him, the knights shouted, "Wait, stop. We're on official business, so stay back." Jackal seemed completely unfazed. He glared at them with murderous intent, taking a tentative step forward as if preparing to attack. The blonde knight yelled, trying to deter him. "If you come any closer, you know what will happen." Before he could finish, Jackal kicked him. The black-haired knight gasped, "Senior." He stepped forward aggressively. "You started this." He, too, received a kick identical to his senior's. Helena stood frozen, watching the fight unfold. In short order, Jackal had taken down all the knights. She stammered, "Well, I guess I'm lucky. He looks especially terrifying right now." The scene left Helena speechless, the knights lying battered and bruised around her. No matter how furious they were, they could only flee. The Duke didn't say anything about this happening. One cried, the other panicked and scrambling after him, adding, "Damn it, I didn't know either." Jackal watched silently as the crowd scattered, and once he was sure they were gone, he turned to Helena. She stood there observing, freezing under his gaze, unsure what to do. After a moment of blankness, she finally made up her mind. To Jackal's surprise, Helena softly asked, "Why are you here?" He responded with equal surprise, "Aren't you afraid?" Helena tried to appear calm, but inwardly she was screaming, "I've seen things far more extreme than the original story. What's there to be afraid of? Though, actually, I'm a little nervous." Without waiting for a reply, Jackal continued, "I'm the one who wants to ask why you're here." At this question, Helena stammered, thinking I can guess why he's here, but I still need to pretend I don't know. If this wall truly is the power of the artifact, then I'm in trouble. As Helena was lost in thought, a spirit suddenly appeared, startling them both. Yawning, the spirit said, "I'm so sleepy." The mischievous-looking girl blinked and continued, "It's been so many years." Only after this explanation did the spirit seem to notice their presence. She floated over to Helena and asked, "Who are you? Are you my new master?" Helena asked blankly what. She quickly glanced around, inwardly screaming, "Oh my God." Jackal also watched the scene with surprise. Unfazed, the spirit introduced herself. "I'm David of Taurus. Aren't you the new master of the David family?" Helena recalled her thought from 3 minutes prior. If this wall truly is the power of the artifact, then I'm in trouble. She hurriedly denied it, shouting, "I'm not." David was about to say, "How can that be?" but was interrupted by Helena. She turned to Jackal and explained, "Your Highness, this strange ghost has appeared again." Jackal corrected her coolly, "It's not a ghost. It's a constellation spirit. Only those with immense power can make it appear." Hearing these words, Helena gasped, overwhelmed with disbelief. The Crown Prince gave a chilling smile. "It's the first time I've seen someone summon a spirit of a treasure that doesn't belong to them." Helena paused in her meltdown, inwardly marveling at that expression. Seeing this, David asked her what's wrong. Should I take care of it? Helena replied weakly, no, don't. She thought, in the original story, he's the one who destroys the treasure, so David might be in danger. Suddenly, David said, but why don't I have any power? The little girl suddenly shrunk back, returning to her original form as a small bird. Confused, the little girl chirped, what's going on? Worried, Helena caught her, saying, be careful. Suddenly, a voice called out from behind them, Your Highness. Lena. Several servants hurried down the hallway. Searching. Jackal said, hide it first. We'll talk later. Just then, a golden light emanated from a room. Inside the room, Helena collapsed exhaustedly onto a sofa, muttering to herself, I'm going to die. Helena recalled her conversation with the manager, who had said furiously they dared to impersonate royal knights. The Duke must be insane. He hurriedly continued, You've had a hard time. I'll talk to the general manager about this. Helena quickly waved her hand, saying, No, it's fine. It's not a big deal, just a misunderstanding. She thought, if this issue escalates, it'll be troublesome, since I'm both a duke and a low-ranking manager. Suddenly, Helena said dramatically, Besides, if this gets to the general manager and becomes so serious that I'm fired, what am I supposed to do? I have a sick sister and younger siblings to take care of, the weakest being road mine. Somewhere, someone asked, Since when did I become the Duke's younger brother? Helena continued to ramble about her family. Hearing this, the two managers exclaimed, Your situation is so unfortunate. I'll protect your job. I won't let anyone bring this up. But if the investigation team or the general manager asks, there's no other way around it. Back in the present, Helena, weary, rubbed her temples. I haven't had to put on an act like that in ages. I thought I was going to die. Jackal's voice cut through the silence, cold and sharp. It seems you've rested enough. Let's talk. Duchess, the crown prince inquired, his tone glacial. Can you wield the power of other families' treasures? The question caught Helena off guard. Should I tell the truth? She wondered. What would happen if I said I could? Anxiety twisted in her gut as she clutched her skirt. What if I say I can only communicate with them? Is Jackal different from how he was in the original story? The memory of her previous close encounters with the crown prince flashed through her mind. Clearly, my relationship with him has diverged significantly from the original narrative, she reasoned internally. In fact, we become much closer. The chilling glint in Jackal's eyes resurfaced in her memory. But if I were to ask whether he'd harm me, I'm not so sure. After careful deliberation, she responded vaguely, I don't know. You don't know? Jackal questioned, surprise lacing his voice. Immediately adopting an expression of earnest innocence, Helena replied, I've only ever used a cracks. Rather, I'm curious about what just happened. Pressing her inquiry, she continued, Your Highness was holding Spica, correct? Did you do that because you know how to use the treasure? Jackal's response was curt. No, the Marquee gave the treasure to me for personal reasons. He recalled their conversation from a few days prior. It's a treasure with healing abilities. I was thinking of finding someone who could use it. Back in the present, Jackal added abruptly, if I could use it, I would have healed you immediately instead of searching for someone else. His gaze sharpened, but treasures have never been used by anyone other than their owner. Helena fell silent at his words. Then, feigning naivete, she chirped, really? I didn't know anything about that. Oh my, how strange. Jackal immediately pressed her. Do you really not know? Yes, Helena insisted. I'd like to know too. I truly don't know anything. At her blatant lies, Jackal sighed wearily. A chuckle escaped his lips. Well, we have David on our hands anyway. Let's conduct an experiment together. It might help me understand your potential, so you wouldn't refuse, would you? This lunatic, Helena cursed inwardly. He's practically threatening me. No matter how I look at it, he won't let this go easily. Through gritted teeth, she replied, Of course not, Your Highness. Suddenly, a shadow materialized before Jackal. Helena seized the opportunity. But what do I get out of it? A shadow stood before Jackal. Helena asked, but what do I gain? Jackal countered with a smile. As I said, you can discover your potential. Isn't that beneficial enough? Helena's response was laced with ice. No, I've been through many peculiar situations so far. But realistically, how many opportunities will I have to wield the treasures of other families? She scoffed. If something is discovered after the experiment, and I receive more opportunities, it would undoubtedly be due to Your Highness's intentions. Jackal's face darkened with anger. Undeterred, Helena pressed on. So I just want to make sure. If I'm not mistaken, Your Highness is currently brimming with the intention to use me. Jackal stared at her, taken aback. Her words seemed to amuse him. A sudden laugh erupted from his chest. "You wound me with such accusations, Duchess." The Crown Prince's eyes sharpened, his voice turning cold once more. "But that's precisely your charm." With that, Jackal gently reached out and took Helena's hand. As he brushed his lips against her skin, he murmured, "I'm falling for you all over again." "He's spouting nonsense again," Helena thought, her heart pounding in her chest. Helena asked, surprised, "Do you think it would be better to tell this story after we're done in bed?" Jackal sighed and countered, "All right, so only I know about your ability." Suddenly, the image and words of Rain flashed through Helena's mind. She thought to herself, can she see treasures that don't belong to her family? Ronnie knows I can see the treasures, but he doesn't know I can use their power. "Yes, if your highness is finished, I'll excuse myself," Helena replied. At her words, Jackal said, "Go ahead." After Helena left, a strange silence fell over the room. Jackal suddenly laughed, murmuring to himself, "Found it." A room surrounded by chains. A determined smile played on his lips as he confirmed the room's owner. The next day, in a management tower, a worried man said, "I'll cooperate." Helena thought, bewildered, "Change your mind." He continued, "I heard you're good to mages, that you don't force them to sign lifetime contracts." At his words, Helena thought, seems Roadmine told him, "You've been busy." The mage then asked, "Will you keep your promise to save my wife?" Helena immediately replied, "Of course. I can even pay you in advance." Holding up 2 fingers, she said, "In return, you must report all of the general manager's crimes. As for how I handle your wife, don't investigate and don't ask." Helena continued, "Those are my conditions." The mage stared blankly, but for his wife's sake, he had no choice but to agree. Tears of relief welling in his eyes, the mage replied, "Yes, I understand." A while later, in the Crown Prince's room, Helena, her face impassive, said, "Your Highness, could you appoint me as an inspector for the tax bureau?" Jackal, taken aback by the sudden request, asked Inspector, "That's quite abrupt. Shouldn't you be at the tax bureau?" Helena replied with a smile, "I'm just out for a bit." He continued, "If I appoint you, many will call it unlawful." She answered confidently, "It doesn't matter. I'll leave them speechless." Helena stated confidently, "I'll give you a ledger with all the evidence of embezzlement." Jackal said, surprised, "It seems you've come up with a good method." "Very well, let's do it." But in return, the Crown Prince suddenly stood, a smile playing on his lips. "Let's have dinner together," he suggested. Not long after, the two were seated at a lavishly set dinner table. Helena thought, bewildered, it's just dinner, why the change in appearance? Suddenly, she complimented him, "Black hair suits you too." Jackal, caught off guard, replied, "Why do you say that so suddenly?" Helena, quickly switching to social mode, thought it would be weird to eat with my superior in silence. Jackal asked quietly, "Do you really think so?" Helena replied with a smile, "Yes, I do." The Crown Prince's gaze sharpened. "I wasn't planning on bringing this up so soon," he said suddenly, "but I must tell you, this isn't a time I should be away from my office. Yet I changed my appearance and arranged this dinner." Helena thought, perplexed, what is he trying to say? Suddenly, Jackal asked, "Duchess, are you interested in being imprisoned?" Helena immediately responded, "Are you insane?" At her question, he laughed. "Ah, as expected, you're not willing." Helena, still bewildered by the turn of the conversation, was caught off guard when he continued, "Then let me rephrase. Duchess, would you like to experience consensual imprisonment?" Jackal looked at her with an unervingly earnest expression. Helena's jaw dropped. "Huh," she exclaimed internally. Throughout the dinner, Helena sat there thinking, what nonsense is this guy spouting? The problem was, this was the man who imprisoned her sister in the original story. So, without hesitation, Helena said, "Please explain." At her words, Jackal clicked his tongue. "Do you really want to hear a story about imprisonment?" Helena suddenly sighed. "Even if your highness is joking, you never speak without purpose." As soon as Helena finished speaking, she couldn't help but be surprised by the prince's expression. "At least now, I believe you aren't creating this space just to spout meaningless words," she thought. He smiled and said, as expected of the Duchess, "None can compare," causing a slight flutter in her chest. "Even disguised, you're still so beautiful." While she was still puzzling over his words, Jackal suddenly called out, "Duchess." Then the prince mentioned, "Father is pressuring me to marry." Helena immediately recalled this happening in the original story. "I'm listening," she replied. Meanwhile, Helena thought, "As far as I know, he He never got engaged or married because he was only obsessed with her sister. And the princess was a villain in the original story. She definitely wouldn't let those women stay by her brother Jackal's side. Then the prince continued. At first, he wasn't very forceful. But recently the pressure has intensified, and he's even put forward conditions I can't ignore. So, as I've been thinking, it seems everything started with the rumors of the Duchess and I being lovers. At this point, Helena understood. So, because it's my fault, we have to get married so you don't have to hear those words anymore. Jackal quipped, "Are you willing to do that now?" This made her bristle. "Do you really think so? Of course, if you came to my side, I would welcome it greatly. But if that's the case, what's the point of mentioning imprisonment? Marrying you would indeed help me escape His Majesty's pressure, but it's not a wise move. Because if I get engaged or married to you, you'll definitely die, and that pressure will fall on me again. This kind of control has been going on since I was born, and even if I get angry, it will continue. If that happens, I'll definitely go crazy." Hearing this, Helena was taken aback. Jackal continued, "What would happen if rumors spread that I imprisoned someone? What if that person was the young and talented Duchess, also my rumored lover? It would certainly become the hottest topic of discussion. Everyone would try to verify if it's true, and the first would be my father." Having said this, Jackal suddenly fell silent. Recently, the people around me have been killed from the inside, which is quite unsettling. I wonder who my enemy is. I'm also curious how those who follow me will react when they see me go mad. Hearing this, Helena thought he wanted her to cooperate in a play to find the internal spy. Without hesitation, she asked Jackal, "What do I get?" He immediately replied, "Once the act is over, I'll let you go." However, Helena rejected this offer. "That's laughable. When do you think this act will end?" At that moment, she thought, "Do I look like an easily fooled idiot?" Then Jackal laughed. It seems this tactic won't work. This made Helena say sternly, "If you continue to joke around." But before she could finish, Jackal interrupted, "I will grant your wish. Anything. I'm willing to bet my life on it." Helena couldn't help but be stunned by these words. Jackal added, "If you're willing, come to my study to discuss it. I'll swear a magical oath. Think about it carefully. You can also propose other conditions." Finally, the two finished their meal, but Helena suddenly felt indigestion. It would be strange not to have indigestion after hearing about imprisonment. Just then, Jackal suddenly said, "The world still thinks. When a man and a woman dine together and then take a walk, it's a date." After saying these words, Jackal looked deeply at her, making Helena flustered. "A date. Your words are giving me indigestion." Then Jackal laughed. "If I've left such a deep impression on you, it must be love." Hearing this, Helena froze, inwardly cursing. What is this madman saying? Just then, a young man with white hair suddenly appeared, causing Helena to be taken by surprise. He stepped between Helena and Jackal. "Duchess, do you need my assistance?" Helena was genuinely surprised. "Oh, Rain." Then, with a pointed look at Jackal, Rain declared, "It seems you do need help. I saw everything. This man was harassing you. Let me arrest him." Jackal stared, bewildered, while Helena fought back a wave of panic. Rain's voice was stern. "Harassing a lady in broad daylight in a restaurant corridor. I'm taking him to the palace." Inwardly, Helena sighed. Even if he were arrested, he'd be released, and then she would be the one in trouble. Rain, ever the protective knight, continued to glare at Jackal. Helena quickly intervened. "It's not like that." Jackal watched their interaction, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes. "I know the Duchess employs the daughter of the Pollock's family as a maid, and the two families' territories are close, so they've known each other for a long time. But regardless," Jackal smoothly stepped in. "It seems this knight has misunderstood." With a bold step forward, the prince placed himself directly in front of Rain. "I am the Duchess's lover," he declared confidently. "This is our first meeting, isn't it? The Duchess never mentioned you." Rain gasped. "Don't lie. The Duchess's lover is the crown prince." Helena's internal frustration mounted. "You're both wrong," she thought, "and I already denied it, Rain." Aloud, Rain continued, "Of course, that's just a rumor. I've never heard of the Duchess having a lover. But even if she did, the crown prince would be understandable. But you saying you are?" Jackal feigned surprise. "Oh, you mean the crown prince." But the expression on his face was anything but shocked. It was almost pleased. Rain pressed on, "And the Duchess looks uncomfortable around you. If you were lovers, you wouldn't do things that she dislikes." Helena winced inwardly. That hit a little too close to home. Jackal responded smoothly, "You misunderstand. I understand that to others, this playful banter might seem a bit much." He turned to Helena, a glint in his eye. "But you don't mind, do you, my dear?" He waited, challenging her to deny it. Rain, still suspicious, asked Jackal his name. We began this relationship with marriage as the premise, Jackal announced grandly. Helena thought, judging by his expression, he won't be happy if I say otherwise. If Rain started investigating Jackal's identity and threatened arrest, things would get messy. The Pollock's family was loyal to the Emperor. If Jackal's disguised movements were exposed, it could be disastrous. After a moment of rapid calculation, Helena gave a small, hesitant nod. Yes, well, sort of, but not entirely. Rain looked thoroughly confused. What does that mean? Anyway, this is my colleague. He took a joke too far, and I apologize for the worry it caused. Thank you for helping me. You looked very dashing. Rain seemed slightly mollified. Helena pressed her advantage. I'm a bit busy now, so I'll be going. She didn't forget to placate Rain with a promise of a future meeting. All right, I'll contact you through Lena. See you later. Just then, Rain felt a cold gaze directed at him. He suddenly recalled the strange shift he'd witnessed in Jackal's office. His mind raced, replaying the events of the confrontation. Jackal's behavior had been odd, and then there was the matter of Jackal's request, fulfilled with Dan's help, to appoint Rain as an inspector. General Manager Coleman's embezzlement had been exposed in a mere 4 days. It had surprised everyone. Duchess Helena herself had taken action, and in the end, she had taken over the general manager's desk. The tax bureau had worn her down, the relentless work leaving her weary. Still, Helena had managed to resolve the issue with the general manager, thanks in no small part to Dan's assistance. Even her adversaries had been caught off guard, their Wonglon making them easy to overcome. A swift resolution to the case had been the best course of action. Indeed, it was the approach Helena always favored in her own territory. Now, all that remained was to decide on a new manager, and then she could finally return. Suddenly, a voice called out, "Duchess, you have a visitor." Helena responded instantly, "Show them in." She couldn't suppress her surprise when she saw the princess. "Greetings, Duchess. How are you?" Helena rose quickly to her feet. "My respects to Her Highness, the Moonlight Princess of Sirius." In that moment, Hyia had something she wanted to say. "I've heard many interesting things lately, mostly concerning the Duchess." A prickle of apprehension ran down Helena's spine. Hyia continued, a malicious glint in her eye. "So, you've grown closer to my brother." Hyia covered her mouth with a hand as she asked, "Are you and my brother on good terms?" Helena forced a smile. "I am merely endeavoring to be a competent aide." Inwardly, she fretted, what is she doing here so suddenly? Has the Brokon princess finally come to chastise me? Help! She's been quiet all this time, just like a villain in a novel. Then, Hyia gestured for her to sit. "Come, sit down. I've heard some rumors as well, and I was a little disappointed when I heard you say that. They say you're my brother's lover." "Oh, I'm not blaming you. What's surprising is why you haven't come to see me. I thought you'd have a lot of questions for me. Like why the evidence left by the murderer of Marquee, Jackal, bears the insignia of my knight's order." Helena replied, "I'm not curious. I assumed it was a trap. No one would be foolish enough to commit murder and leave such obvious evidence." Hyia regarded the girl before her for a moment, then smiled. As expected of the Duchess. "How amusing. That's a good decision. You see, I like you." Helena maintained a calm facade, while internally she lamented, "This is the villain's attention. How unwelcome." Hyia continued, "So I'm going to tell you something. My brother might imprison you." Helena's breath hitched at the words. Dark images from the past flashed through her mind. Why did I have to come here in place of my sister? Everything has changed since I arrived here. I can't be swayed. With that thought firmly in place, Helena spoke. "I don't understand what you mean." Hyia crossed her arms. "Of course you don't. How could the Duchess know?" "No, what I mean is, I'll be returning to my territory soon. His Majesty has given his permission." A flicker of elation sparked within Helena. "I won the bet, which means I can go back, right? This is unsettling. There's something that bothers me." She asked, "Why is the princess telling me this?" The princess smiled. "Oh, that's a good question. It goes back to my brother's childhood. Ever since he was young, my brother has protected everything he cherishes, objects, animals, people. This is because he's cursed." Helena was slightly surprised to hear about a curse. "I've heard of it before. Let's just say it's because of a curse. This curse has a few symptoms, one of which is an obsession with things he wants, a need to keep them in his grasp. If that thing is a person, then imprisonment isn't out of the question, since you're my brother's official lover." Helena thought impossible. "But even if I think that, I can't fully trust Jackal. But I can't let the princess notice I don't know what they're planning." While telling me this, she said, "Thank you for the warning, but this seems to be a matter between us." "Thank you for your concern." The princess asked Helena, "Don't you believe me?" Helena replied, "No, I'm just grateful that you took the time to warn me despite your busy schedule." "Well, that's all I have to say." After saying this, Hyia turned and left without a backward glance. The door clicked shut behind her, leaving Helena sitting anxiously in her chair. What on earth was going on? Before departing, the princess had added, "Duchess Helena, there are many things you need to be careful of. You also need to be wary of my brother and my father. Thank you for clearing my name." Meanwhile, Hyia strode confidently down the corridor, murmuring to herself, just as I thought. She's the same as Callisto and me. The scene shifted to another, darker location. Seated in a chair, a man questioned two subordinates. What's the situation? One knelt to report, there's nothing new. His Majesty the Emperor is very suspicious. Nothing. The subordinate nodded in reply. Yes, Duke Acres manages his territory impeccably. He seems to dote on his only family, his younger sister. But Callisto Acres's whereabouts are currently unknown. The Emperor stroked his chin. If there's no weakness, then we can only kill him, don't you think? With your family's abilities, cows. Cows bowed his head. I accept the order. With that, he turned swiftly and departed. Then, the Emperor summoned Marquee Pollock. There's something else I need you to do. Regarding Duke Acres's blood relative, the one Earl Cows couldn't find. Marquee Pollock nodded his understanding. The next morning, within the castle, Helena stood by the window, softly calling, "Road mine." He answered from behind her, "Yes." Helena spoke, "Take a good look at my face, because from now on, my fate is either death or imprisonment." Roadmine asked, "Can I run away before I get caught up in this?" Helena, exasperated, threw a document at his face. "Get out, Acres's." In Roadmine's hands were the summary of the princess's story and the proposal for Jackal's imprisonment. Roadmine spoke, "There's something I'm curious about." Helena nodded. "What is it?" Roadmine replied, "I don't even know how this could seem to have feelings involved. There are characters like this in the book I'm reading." Helena scolded him irritably. "Stop reading those sappy novels and spend your time working." "Well, what about the task I gave you before? Has that item not appeared at the auction house yet?" Roadmine nodded in agreement. "Yes, I've looked everywhere and can't find it. The item is a pair of rings said to have been worn by a hero. It appeared in the original story as well. The key to controlling Jackal, said to be a treasure used long ago by a great hero who once hunted dragons. They become as docile as lambs, obeying the commands of the ring bearer. In the original story, it was said that it would one day appear at the auction house in the capital. In front of that ring, Jackal couldn't even move. No matter how much I search, there are no other clues. So, in the end, I can only wait for it to appear." Just then, she noticed something. A small bird seemed to chirp, "Hello, human." She asked, "I heard you were forced to sleep. Why are you out?" "I didn't even call you." The bird replied, "I just wanted to come out." Helena spoke, "Good, I have something to ask you. I'll contact the Davy family when the time comes. You can go back." The bird replied sulkily, "I'm not going back. I'm not going back. I want to stay with you, human." Helena asked it, "Don't you need my permission?" The bird replied, "Why would I? I don't want to choose another master. I'm too tired." Helena thought, "Is this a declaration of a strike?" She asked, "What difference does it make if you stay with me?" The bird replied, "Being with you broadens my horizons. I can't explain it, but you feel like our first master." "First master? Then maybe, human, you could be my master." A white bird suddenly appeared, interrupting. "Wait, Spica was first. I was going to say it first." Helena immediately tried to dissuade them. "No, calm down." A moment passed. The squabble finally ceased as both birds declared in unison, "No, the human must become both mine and Precious's master." Helena stammered, "How did we even arrive at this conclusion?" More importantly, she added, "Who said I wanted to be your master?" The white bird said coldly, so cruel. "You're going to take everything from Spica and then abandon me. You wicked human." Helena replied in exasperation, "When did I ever do such a thing? And where did you even learn to talk like that?" The white bird wailed, "You're only using me when it's convenient." The gold bird appeared, asking, "Hey, master, why are you making the child cry?" Helena, massaging her temples, thought, "Honestly, I'm not happy about this at all. What if that guy becomes even more persistent?" The white bird declared, "The Marquee Spica family no longer has a master. I've checked all the direct blood relatives." Helena inquired, "What are the criteria for choosing a master?" The birds replied, "They must be kind and have some self-respect." "That depends on the circumstances," the gold bird suggested. "Master, think about it. This is beneficial for you too. If you accept us, even a weakling like you can use my power more effectively." Helena sighed, "This is all happening too fast. I still have the crown prince to worry about." As the three birds stared at her with pleading eyes, Helena cradled her head in her hands and conceded, "Fine, Do whatever you want. The birds cheered. You've made the right choice, master. But is it really okay to resolve this so hastily? Afternoon arrived quickly. Walking down the corridor with Roadmine, Helena announced, I think I should visit the auction house myself. Roadmine inquired, will you go anonymously? Helena replied, I'm still considering it. There are too many troublesome issues I can't resolve. How do I explain Jackal? And how do I avoid the Emperor's surveillance? Just then, Roadmine called out, Duchess. Helena turned, a question in her eyes. Roadmine asked in a low voice, isn't this that corridor? Helena replied, yes, why? She thought to herself, the corridor is deserted. I have a bad feeling about this. A figure appeared. The gold bird flew out. An arrow materialized, but Helena snatched it from the air just before it could pierce her heart. Knocked back by the force, Helena thought, that was chaotic. Acorx lent me his strength just in time. Judging by the trajectory, it came from outside. Who is it? Roadmine rushed to her side. Are you all right, Duchess? I'll immediately, Helena thought. Although this place is usually deserted, this is the entrance to the tax bureau. I can't let Roadmine use magic here. She said, forget about teleporting. Go find the knights now. Roadmine questioned, but Duchess, that power, Helena thought, I know this power's duration is short. She urged, there's no time. Go. Roadmine hurried away, calling back, please don't get hurt. You still have to pay me. Helena gave a wry smile. Does he really think this is the time for jokes? Still, thanks to him, I feel less tense. The timing is too perfect. She recalled asking the three birds earlier, by the way, if I become your master, can I use the treasure's power? The birds had replied, I suppose so. There will be a price, but yes. You'll also be able to better control the power of the treasures you already possess. Akira is extending the duration of his power. For a short time, I can move as quickly as my sister. Another projectile approached. The attacker was the same blue-haired man from before. Helena swiftly evaded. She realized there's nowhere suitable to hide. A voice cautioned her. My lady, I don't think we can fight him. Run. Helena nodded. I'd like to. I need to think this through. At this rate, those arrows will pierce me soon. If the first hit is fatal, even Spika can't help, and there's no telling when Roadmine will arrive. In that case, it's best to take the offensive. With that, Helena emerged from her hiding spot. An unnatural silence fell over the castle. Helena thought, even if I hide, I'll have to show myself eventually. He's here. Way to get so close. Throwing with that much force from such a distance. That's incredible strength. But that trick won't work. A chair lay overturned in the corridor. Attacking with a chair, good. His attention must have wavered for a moment. If I run now, just then, the golden bird cried out, my lady dodge. The man had raised his bow again. 3 arrows flew towards Helena simultaneously. She realized, damn it, I'm too late. At that very moment, a hand reached out. Jackal pulled her into his arms. I'm not late this time, he said. The arrows, seemingly destined to find their mark, clattered harmlessly to the floor. Jackal's arrival a shield against their deadly flight. Helena breathed a sigh of relief, the realization of her survival washing over her. Hidden in the trees, cows cursed under his breath. He's just another meddlesome nuisance. You'll regret interfering. More arrows flew, but Jackal deflected them all with effortless grace. Cows, astonished that Jackal had parried every shot, thought, it seems there's no hope today. Jackal turned to Helena. Are you hurt? He asked. Helena shook her head. No, my lord. Thank you, she replied. Jackal turned back. Stay here. I'll be right back. He can't have gone far. We have to pursue him now. Helena hesitated. Wait a moment, she said, catching Jackal's hand. Meeting Jackal's questioning gaze, Helena stammered, what are you going to do? Jackal smiled faintly. I won't kill him, he reassured her, but punishment is necessary, isn't it? Helena nodded. Of course, as long as you don't kill him. Right? You have to bring him back alive. We need to gather evidence. As she spoke, Helena's hand began to tremble. Jackal immediately drew her into an embrace. Surprised, Helena asked, my lord, what are you doing? Jackal replied, when I was young, I used to tremble when I heard thunder. My mother would hold me like this. I didn't understand it all, but I imagine ordinary people find some comfort in it, don't they? The ruthless Jackal continued. It seems the Duchess, like my younger self, can't admit her weaknesses. I'll calm down now, Helena said. You can let go. Jackal released her, a smile playing on his lips. Why have you regained your composure so quickly? It's a shame. You made me want to stay with you a little longer. Helena immediately replied, I can do without that, she thought. Even if I almost died, I can't bear to appear so pathetic, no matter how embarrassing. Aloud, she said, "Anyway, thanks to you, I'm unharmed." Looking up, Helena noticed Jackal's black hair gradually turning red. "Your hair," she began, puzzled. Jackal interrupted. "After something like this, you'd best rest. I'll handle the rest." Helena responded instantly. "My lord, it seems I'm not the only one who needs comforting." Her expression was serious. Jackal countered, "Is it that obvious?" He added, "Otherwise, would the kind Duchess come to embrace me? Is that not allowed?" Helena asked. Jackal fell silent, unsure how to respond. Helena thought, "It's been a while since I've been able to use Acrx's power. If Jackal hadn't arrived in time, my life would have been in danger." With that thought, she reached up and embraced Jackal tightly. "I don't know much about fighting," she said, "but I understand you risked a great deal to save me. I feel safe." Helena's hands, clasped behind Jackal's back, were still trembling. Jackal chuckled. "For someone who doesn't know much about fighting, you put up quite a fight. It's the first time I've seen someone use a chair as a weapon." Helena nodded. "Yes, so please be gentle with me." Jackal laughed. "Honestly, you're too much. I feel so calm after hugging the kind Duchess." Helena countered, "Isn't that a good thing? Many scholars have found that hugs help stabilize one's emotions." Jackal muttered, "Does it really have to go this far?" Making the Duchess uneasy. Helena cursed inwardly. Why does a simple human hug suddenly sound like a terrifying conspiracy? She noticed his hair had returned to its normal color. Jackal extended a hand. "I came as a servant, but perhaps someone saw me running when the magic wore off." Helena asked worriedly, "Is that all right?" Jackal replied, "It's fine. Thanks to that, I saved your life." It must have been a good thing for the attacker, too. Didn't he avoid being torn to shreds? Helena trembled at his terrifying expression. Trying to compose herself, she said, "Come to think of it, you couldn't pursue the attacker because of me. My aide will arrive soon with the knights, and I'll order an investigation." Jackal said, "Oh, there's no need for that. I already know who the culprit is." Helena, puzzled, "You know who shot the arrow at me?" Two birds appeared, answering. "I know it's cows, it's cows. I swear that bastard cows dare to target Miss Acrx's. He's no longer my brother. Take him down." Helena thought, if it's cows, then that's the imperial family, right? So that means, Jackal said, the cow's family, the emperor's archers. That was the power of the cow's family treasure. That's the kind of ability that targeted the Duchess. This must be your first time seeing it, meaning if the Duchess didn't have a constellation treasure, she would have died here. Helena was silent, thinking, since he used his ability openly in the palace, he won't give up after one failure. "If I'm attacked again." Just then, Jackal said, "So, Duchess, how about I stay by your side at all times?" Helena asked blankly what. Jackal replied with a smile, I will personally be your guard." Dumbfounded, Helena asked again, "What are you saying?" "You're the crown prince. This is preposterous. The crown prince becoming the Duchess's guard. Don't talk such nonsense. What about your duties?" Jackal replied, "The Duchess's life is threatened. How can government affairs compare to that?" Helena retorted, "Of course they're a big deal. Aren't they? I appreciate your concern for me, but you should consider your position." Just then, Helena recalled, "I'm annoyed that he said it's preposterous. Doesn't he know his own position? Why would he do this for me?" Jackal suddenly said, "Duchess, I'm not your enemy. Sometimes I feel like you're prejudiced against me. I know my reputation isn't good, but you make me feel like you're very afraid of me." Helena hadn't expected him to see through that. She said, "Yes, that's right. I'm grateful that you saved my life, but I wouldn't dare ask your highness to be my guard." Jackal continued, "Cow's arrow. Someone on my level can block it unscathed." Helena replied, "But the Duchess's knights are also excellent." Jackal asked her again, "Would it be all right if you lost an arm?" Helena stubbornly replied, "I also have a treasure." Jackal responded, "It seems you can't use it indefinitely." Helena frowned, "I don't even want to see your face after work." Jackal chuckled, "Isn't that a bit much? You're my aide. We handle state affairs together. There's no problem with that. The problem is the time after that. I swear I won't do anything to harm you." Helena wondered, then why is he doing this for me? She said, "If you also swear to keep everything you learn and see during my escort a secret." Jackal extended his hand, asking, "How did you know I like mysterious women?" Helena took his hand, reminding him, "Just don't forget your oath. This will be a choice you will never regret." Helena's reasons for accepting Jackal's offer were twofold. First, Rhodomene, not registered as a mage, couldn't be used as a guard. Second, this was an enemy she couldn't defeat even with Acrx's help. The only person who could resolve this situation. It had to be Jackal. Perhaps Rain could do it, but she couldn't have the royal knights protecting her from the emperor. The two birds chirped. Cow's ability, Archer, allows him to shoot arrows from anywhere, but that's not all. Anything he can hold or throw transforms into an arrow. He can even use shadows. He can also melt into shadows and attack from within them. Helena thought, this is an ability specifically designed for assassination. In the original story, he must have been an early casualty. The Emperor, like any classic villain, has people with dangerous treasures under his command. Among them, the one I'm most wary of is Viscount Foulheart, who possesses the Pisces treasure. He has the ability to brainwash others. Fortunately, the Pisces legacy somehow fell into my hands, so there's nothing to worry about. The Goldberg questioned, "My lady, why are you so hesitant? Shouldn't we confront the enemy immediately? This is war." Helena replied, "Calm down. I'm not going to just sit idly by either." The gold bird exclaimed, "If we don't have evidence, then let's create some. If we search hard enough, we'll find clues." Helena admonished, "Please calm down, family treasure. I'm wondering why you're called Leo, but that dignity really suits a lion. I've already said I have my own plans. Rather, can you take a look at this?" A sword was placed before the three birds. The gold bird recognized it. Helena asked, puzzled Pisces. The black bird spoke, "Among us, we call the youngest member by that name." Helena pressed further. "So this is the Foulheart family treasure, Pisces, correct?" The black bird nodded, "But it's strange. The energy is very faint, even in its dormant state." The three birds huddled together to examine it. Helena murmured, "It seems I won't have a chance to meet Foulheart's soul, but it won't be used for anything dangerous, which is good." She questioned the birds. "Have the owners of a zodiac treasures ever fought before?" The white bird responded, "But what happened to that girl is completely different. I won't let cows get away with this." Helena thought, "In any case, my abilities are limited. Nighttime is dangerous. They said they can hide in the darkness." Just then, a knock came at the door. "My lady, it's me." Helena nodded for them to enter. The person who entered surprised her. Jackal strolled in with his arm around Roadmine, grinning. I saw him guarding the door. He said he was the Duchess's aide. Roadmine cried out in mock distress. "Save me, Duchess." Helena thought, this isn't the first time my aide and that man have met, but he's brazenly pretending he doesn't know anything. Jackal continued, "Isn't it strange to see someone who isn't a knight guarding the door?" Helena responded with a smile. "Yes, he's a very dedicated aide. Isn't he, Roadmine?" Roadmine adjusted his glasses and replied, "Of course." Then the two exchanged a look, communicating silently. The truth was, Roadmine had come to the door to cast a protective spell over Helena's bedroom and office. Helena spoke up, "Your Highness, please spare my poor aide. Come this way." Jackal asked with a smile, "It seems you trust him quite a bit. Come to think of it, he's always by your side." Helena countered, "He's my aide. Isn't that natural?" Jackal began, "Then let's begin our discussion. Duchess." Helena gestured, "Roadmine, you may leave." Jackal said with satisfaction, "Now we're finally alone." Helena cautioned him, "Please refrain from saying things in my office that could lead to misunderstandings." Jackal stated, "I hope you understand. Since the Duchess's knight was guarding the door, there's more of a presence than usual." Helena questioned a presence. "Come to think of it, didn't he brush off the places Roadmine had touched earlier?" She ventured, "Your Highness, it seems you can sense people's presence." Jackal asked, intrigued, "How did you figure that out?" Helena gasped, "Is it true?" Jackal replied, "But it's deeper than that. My sensitivity isn't just limited to identifying a person's presence. It's incredibly acute. That's why I detest the scent of people. And it's not just smell. The mere act of touching someone makes me feel like I want to tear off my own skin. Though I've been trained to endure such contact, it's still incredibly uncomfortable for me. Except with you, Duchess. I mean, you're the sole exception. Your scent, your touch. Neither of them bothers me. Should I be more direct? This is the first time in my life because you're the only one I desire. You're the only person in this world who makes me feel at ease." Helena froze, her mind reeling. What does he mean? She thought, this never happened in the original story, or perhaps I just wasn't aware of it. Originally, Helena was just a side character, jealous of her sister and trying to harm her. She wasn't supposed to have any positive relationships with the main characters. The only difference is my rebirth. The thought lingering, she asked, "Your Highness, when you say you're extremely sensitive, in what ways does it manifest?" Jackal replied, "When I focus, I can see the dust motes dancing in the seams of a wooden table. I can hear every footstep on the first floor. I can smell every scent that makes me nauseous, especially perfumes. They linger in the air for far too long. It exhausts me. But when I touch you, Duchess, I feel like a normal person. Isn't that amazing?" Helena thought, if this is a curse. Aloud, she said, I understand. I'll keep that in mind. Jackal asked, shouldn't you be sympathizing with me now? Your reaction is so indifferent. Helena responded, how dare I offer sympathy to your highness? One shouldn't offer pity for another's life so easily. Jackal covered his mouth, surprised. That's the first time I've ever heard something like that. Even if there were another person like you in this world, would they say such a thing to me? Helena abruptly said, I don't know. What are you trying to say, your highness? Jackal replied, think of me as your beautiful man for now. I'm certain you're the only one who could say such a thing to me. I'm so terrified of losing you that I've given up everything to protect you. Just think of me as handsome, all right? Helena sighed inwardly. In the palace, I've faced such attempts many times. My life is constantly in danger, and my false identity is paramount. Yet he had unhesitatingly abandoned all of that to be here. Perhaps it's because I recognize the sincerity in his affections, she realized. At that moment, Jackal spoke. Regardless, I want you to remember this. You're the first person I've ever spoken to about this dreadful curse. You're also the first person to say I